Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching second and final part of What If Naruto Awaken Rinnegan during Land of Wave arc. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Always wasting no time, let's start the story.
As the fourth day progressed, both teams Guy and Dosu appeared, and Team 10 eventually arrived on the eve of the fifth day, with only a few hours left before the exam ended. Upon the exam's conclusion, the teams remained in the waiting area, awaiting additional instructions. While Sakura, Ino, Kuretsuchi, Bakutsuchi, and Akatsuchi watched Naruto and Sasuke engage in arm wrestling at the table, Sakura, Ino, and Bakutsuchi cheered for Sasuke, while Kuretsuchi and Akatsuchi cheered for Naruto. Shikamaru appeared to be dozing off on the bench across from the table while Choji was stuffing his face. Kiba was feeding his dog while seated on a couch. Off to the side, Fu and Shino were discussing something, likely bugs. Shibuki and Takimaru were seated at the table and conversing with one another. Tenten was sitting on the couch sharpening her weapons, while Lee was punching and kicking the air while Neji leaned against the wall with his arms folded and his eyes closed. Sitting at the table, Hinata was silently supporting Naruto while she peered out the corner of her eye at the arm wrestling match between Sasuke and Naruto. On one side of the room, Kabuto and his group appeared to be standing alone, while Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro stood alone in a corner. Then Enko emerged as the door opened. Before Sasuke defeated Naruto in the arm wrestling match, she exclaimed, "Okay, people, follow me," and everyone followed Enko to one of the upper floors. The exam proctors were standing next to Hiruzen as they entered a large, rectangular room, and behind him, from left to right, were Suin, Orochimaru, Baki, Kitsuchi, Kurenai, Guy, Kakashi, Asuma, and Kabuto's sensei. As the 9 teams lined up, Enko approached Hiruzen. The teams that could be regarded as the team leaders were Dosu, Gaara, Kabuto, Neji, Kuretsuchi, Naruto, Fu, Kiba, and Ino, in order from left to right. Gazing at the 9 teams before him, Hiruzen exclaimed, "Congratulations to you all on passing the second exam." Instead, "Hey, it's incredible that 27 of the 84 applicants who applied actually made it." Since she hadn't had time to review them when she brought them there, Enko thought, "I said I would cut their numbers down to less than half, but really I was only expecting a single-digit figure. What a drag. So many competitors still," Shikamaru pondered. Whispering, "Sasuke. Kun's team made it," Ino said. "Your students made an impressive showing. I wonder how much of it was dumb luck. Not that it matters. My team is bound to knock them out in the next round. At the next level, it will be all about their abilities, or lack thereof. Well, sometimes being young is all about learning to deal with heart. Break. Kakashi?" Guy replied. Kakashi looked at him. "Huh? I'm sorry, did you say something?" As annoying as ever, "Kakashi, you always tried to irritate me with your distant demeanor," Guy thought. Tenten thought, "Wow, that's Guy. Sensei's fiercest rival. He's so much more attractive than Guy. Sensei. Guy. Sensei is the coolest of all the senseis. Not even close, he's the real deal. Guy. Sensei, just wait, you'll be proud of me," Lee pondered. "Only the actual players remain now, and it was made by Uchiha Sasuke, huh?" Neji pondered. "Wow," Temari thought, "only 9 teams finished out of the 28 3-man teams that started. So, Gaara, you survived without any injuries after all," Baki pondered. Kurenai saw the little dog, shivering in Kiba's jacket, and thought, Akamaru's acting strange. Kiba glared at them out of the corner of his eye and thought, those guys from Sanagakure, following their defeat by Fu's team, they saw a brief battle in which Gaara slaughtered 3 powerful-looking nins. As Hinata gazed at the blonde, she thought, Naruto.kun. Takimaru muttered, "Man, I can't believe that so many teams made it. This is going to be a pain." "Hey, don't worry about it. We've got Fu.san, remember? I doubt any of the other teams has a Jinchuriki," Shibuki said quietly. "Kurama no Kyuubi. You're clueless. Gaara, the Ichibi's Jinchuriki, and Naruto, the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki." Looking at the 2 Jinchuriki, Fu thought, "I can't wait to see what kind of abilities you've got." "That's the Hokage, then." Kuretsuchi thought, "Well, I guess he's younger than Gigi, but still." Kitsuchi thought, "Kuretsuchi, It's time to show them that Iwa is at the top of the shinobi world. Sasuke covertly said, I got a bad feeling about this, as he touched the mark Orochimaru had given him. The fact that so many of them made it out alive is incredible, but what's even more amazing is that most of the survivors were cut from the ranks of the most unsavory recruits. Before he began to describe the Chunin exams, Hiruzen paused to reflect. Kurama no Kyubi. Since this explanation is largely canon and I'm currently too lazy, I won't bother. A Jonin proctor knelt down in front of Hiruzen as he finished outlining the tests. The Jonin, now known as Hayate, said, "Pardon me, Hokage Sama, but if it's okay with you, please turn over the remainder of the proceedings to me, Gecko Hayate, proctor of the third exam." Hiruzen said, "Go ahead." Hayate got to his feet and turned around. "Good to meet you, everyone, I'm Hayate. Before we start the exam, I must ask you to do something for me, said Hayate. "What the?" Zaku pondered. "Is that man ill or what?" Fu pondered. You see, there are some preliminaries to the exam proper, and whether you proceed to the main exam is contingent on how well you manage those," Hayate replied. "Preliminaries?" inquired Kuretsuchi. Shikamaru shouted, "Preliminaries, like what?" Hayate. "Sensei, I don't understand what you mean by preliminaries. Why can't all of the remaining applicants just proceed directly to the next exam?" Sakura inquired. "Well, I don't want to say that the first two exams weren't demanding enough, but the truth is, we still have too many applicants. Under the traditional rules of the exam, we have to have a preliminary test, to reduce the number of applicants who'll proceed to the third exam," said Hayate. Sakura began, but Hayate interrupted. "As Hokage Sama mentioned, a number of honored guests will be observing you during the third exam, so we must make the exam intense, tight, and fast moving. So anyway, now that you know something of what it's really all about, anyone who doesn't feel up to the challenge, either physically or mentally, can walk away. Just take one step forward, because the preliminaries start right now," Hayate concluded. "Now," Kiba shouted. Kabuto held up a hand and said, "Well, I'm outta here." Aren't you? Yakushi Kabuto of Konoha. "Okay, you can go," Hayate replied as he examined the dossier list that he was holding. In case I forgot to mention it, from here on in, you fight as individuals, not as members of teams. So you can make the decision that's right for you without worrying about anyone else. So, anyone else want out? Show of hands. Well, there's a familiar face, If memory serves me, this is about the same point at which he dropped out last time. I wonder, what on earth could he be thinking? Yakushi Kabuto, according to his dossier, he's tried and failed 6 times now, Anko said while perusing the dossier list. Hiruzen questioned, what sort of record has he got? Ordinary, unremarkable. In his academy days, he was an average student, earning mediocre grades. It took him 3 attempts to pass his finals and graduate. Since then, he's completed 2 C-ranked and 14 D-ranked missions. There's nothing noteworthy in the records of any of his battles, except, said Anko. Except, inquired Hiruzen. Except for something that happened before he even entered the academy. Do you remember the tale of a boy who was brought back from that battle at Kikyo Pass? Replied Anko. I do, yes, if I remember correctly, the story was that a Jonin of the medical corps took in an enemy youth who had survived on the battlefield. And he's that child, Hiruzen replied. You appear to be very committed. I wish I could tell you to just leave everything to me. Kabuto thought as he glanced at Orochimaru before turning to face Naruto and Sasuke. Fun's fun, but technically I'm a spy here, and now is hardly the time to blow my cover. I would have liked to hang out with you for a while longer, but if I keep going, my old blood might start bubbling up. Additionally, this is ideal. If you will be in the audience, I can delegate the intelligence gathering task to you. Orochimaru. Sama. Since you were a young child, you have had to live a false life as my undercover agent. Orochimaru thought, the strain of always holding in your true self. Has it become too much for you? Are you ready to snap? Is your roiling blood aching to flow free? Get a hold of yourself. Have you forgotten Orochimaru? Sama's orders? A fellow player asked quietly. You guys can take it from here. Especially you, Yoroi, with your abilities. This next bit should be a piece of cake. It's the perfect opportunity for a real show of sheer brute strength. Considering how you resent my recent promotion, I would have thought you'd jump at the chance. Kabuto continued. You may think you're Orochimaru. Sama's favorite, but don't push it, Gaki. Yoroi replied. Before departing, Kabuto exclaimed, I got it, loud and clear, coach. He was thinking, I look forward with pleasure to the day of our next meeting. Sasuke.kun. You too, Naruto.kun. Since my name is Yoroi, I'll make sure there won't be anything for you to enjoy later, Yoroi thought. Sasuke glanced over his shoulder at Kabuto's retreating back until the curse mark on his neck abruptly began to hurt. Oh. As he raised his hand to the mark, Sasuke thought, another wave of pain. Sakura thought, oh, Sasuke.kun. I was scared of this. So, cough, looks like no one else is bailing out, Hayate replied. Sakura exclaimed, S. Sasuke.kun, maybe you should quit, too. Naruto turned to see Sasuke clutching his neck in agony. After Sasuke woke up, Naruto used his Rinnegan to see a dark chakra radiating from the mark. He said, Sakura. Chan's right, Sasuke. That mark is dangerous, and there's no telling what could happen if you go and fight someone. Shut up, exclaimed Sasuke. Sasuke.kun, I know that you're just barely able to contain the pain, said Sakura. I said, Sasuke began, but Sakura interrupted him. Sakura started to raise her hand, but Sasuke grabbed her wrist to stop her. You leave me no choice. If you won't listen to reason, I'm going to tell all the senseis about that mark, and then, she said. Keep your mouth shut. Not a word about the mark, said Sasuke. Why do you always have to act so strong? I can't bear to watch you suffer, Sasuke, said Sakura. It's my decision, and it's none of your business. This is my burden to bear, alone. This is more than just a test for me, and I don't care whether I achieve the level of Chunin or not. Am I strong? Finding that out is all that matters to me now. I'm here to test myself against the best of the best. And the best opponents I could find are all around us, here and now. Not even for your sake, will I turn away from the path that leads to my dream, said Sasuke. Hey, Teme. Why the heck are you trying to act so cool? Replied Naruto. Sasuke exclaimed, Naruto, you're one of the ones that I want to fight, just before he experienced yet another pain. Hiruzen remarked, it's just as I'd feared, while watching Team 7. Ibiki called out, what can we do? Pull him out of the exam, quarantine him under the guard of Anbu agents, said Anko. Anko asked, and you really think he'll just go quietly if you order that? Kakashi replied, remember that he's a member of the Uchiha clan. Don't talk nonsense. I'll stop him by force if I have to. Any attempts he makes to manipulate his own chakra will provoke a reaction from that curse mark, forcibly drawing out and draining all his strength. It's the mark of a forbidden art, which debilitates the body of the practitioner. It's a miracle that a child like him is able to bear it at all. By all rights, it should have killed him already, Anko said before turning to the elderly Hokage. Hokage. Sama. I am still concerned about what Orochimaru said. Let young Sasuke proceed as he is, and we shall keep our eyes on him, Hiruzen responded. Hokage. Sama, exclaimed Anko. However, if the curse mark begins to spread and cause his power to rampage, then we shall indeed take steps to restrain him, Hiruzen concluded. Ibiki replied, yes, sir. Well then, we'll begin the preliminaries, which consist of individual combat matches, as though this were part of a tournament. As there are a total of 26 combatants remaining, we will hold a total of 13 bouts. And the victors of those bouts will advance to the third exam. This is no holds barred combat. Each pair of combatants will fight until one of them is dead or unconscious, or admits defeat. Cough. As soon as you sense that your opponent is overpowering you, immediately concede your loss, if you value your life. Since we don't want a total blood bath on our hands, there may be cases, cough, where we ascertain that there is an undisputed winner and step in to end the match. But don't count on that. From here on out, the key to your fate is held in, said Hayate. Anko said into a microphone, open it. A wooden board on the wall opened to reveal an electronic scoreboard. This electronic score board. At the start of every round, we will display the names of the 2 combatants competing in that match, not to hurry you all to the slaughter, but let's begin. We'll now announce the first 2 names. Hayate said, and everyone was waiting for the names to appear. Kurama no Kyubi. Just so you know, aside from the crucial ones, some of the fights will be exactly like canon. I won't go into detail about those. Sasuke Uchiha versus Yoroi Ikado. Well, right away, isn't that right? Sasuke pondered. I couldn't have planned it more perfectly, hehe, Yoroi pondered. Oh, please don't, not Sasuke-kun, Sakura pondered. Sasuke and Yoroi moved forward and faced each other as Hayate went on. Ikado Yoroi, Uchiha Sasuke. You two have been selected to compete in the first bout. Any objections? Hayate asked. Will the individuals whose names are listed on the board come forward now? None, Yoroi uttered. I'm fine, Sasuke declared. Now, all I can do is stand here and keep an eye on him. Sasuke-kun, Sakura pondered. Sasuke. Don't you dare lose now if you intend to fight me later, Naruto pondered. There's a problem with Sasuke-kun, Ino reflected. It's being caused by the curse mark, Dosu pondered. Sasuke. Good luck. Lee pondered. Prove your worth to us. Neji pondered. Sasuke, I want to fight you later. Therefore, don't risk losing, Kuretsuchi said. As the curse mark continued to hurt, Sasuke thought, the pain isn't getting any better. Hey, it looks like the boy is hurting, Yoroi pondered. Everyone moved toward the stairs leading to the upper gallery as Hayate said, it's time for the first round to commence. All right. Cough. Everyone other than the 2 combatants should move up to the upper gallery now. While teams Gaara, Dosu, Kabuto, and Fu went up to the left, teams 7, 8, and 10, Guy and Kuretsuchi, went up to the right. As he passed the Uchiha, Kakashi remarked, Sasuke, don't use the Sharingan. How did you know? Inquired Sasuke on. If the curse mark on your neck is allowed to run rampant, the consequences will change your life. Kakashi stated. When Sasuke said, I figured. Kakashi said, please don't forget that if they see any sign of that, the match will be suspended. And I'll be forced to stop you. He then continued to walk. Suspended? Before raising his hand to the mark, Sasuke pondered, it appears that the mark reacts to my chakra. For the sake of this match, not only is the Sharingan forbidden, but I will also need to use my chakra sparingly, even for the standard jutsus, as the mark will take control of my mind and use all of my power if I use it carelessly. It's unfortunate that Yoroi's skills are the worst you could encounter, Sasuke-kun. Orochimaru pondered. Now, what should I do? Sasuke pondered. Don't push yourself too hard, Sasuke, Kakashi thought. Hayate said, all right, please begin, and Yoroi made the sign for the Tora hand. He said, shall I start? Yoroi's right hand was encrusted with blue chakra as he retrieved 3 shuriken from his weapons pouch and hurled them in the direction of the Uchiha after Sasuke said, go for it. Feeling a fresh wave of pain in his neck, Sasuke drew out a kunai and used it to deflect the shuriken back towards Yoroi. As Yoroi ducked the shuriken, he stumbled. Subsequently, Yoroi emerged above the Uchiha and tried to strike him, but Sasuke rolled aside, causing the Auto Spy to fall to the ground instead. Then, using his feet to push Yoroi's arm to the ground, Sasuke drove his kunai into the ground. Yoroi then grabbed Sasuke's shirt, just below the collar. Is my strength waning? As he attempted to push Yoroi's hand away, Sasuke thought. Before punching the Uchiha away, Yoroi raised his arm and firmly pressed his elbow against Sasuke's stomach. Why? Why? Where had all my strength disappeared to? As Yoroi jumped forward and seized his forehead, Sasuke pondered. Sakura shouted, Sasuke! Kun! As Sasuke attempted to push back Yoroi's arm but felt his strength abruptly leave him, causing his arms to fall lumpily to the ground. This is Sasuke! He's absorbing your chakra. Get him away from you! Exclaimed the blonde as Naruto activated his eyes to see that Yoroi was absorbing the Uchiha's chakra. Exactly. Absorbing another person's chakra is Yoroi's unholy gift. It's a masterful technique that allows him to absorb an opponent's mental and physical energy just by pressing the palm of his hand against their body. And Sasuke-kun, You will be left with no choice but to use the force of my curse mark once all of your chakra has been consumed. Open yourself up to all that delicious power, that's all. You will undoubtedly perish if you attempt to thwart this course. Orochimaru pondered. Before kicking Yoroi out, Sasuke remarked, "Oh, you, son of a." As Sasuke stood up, Yoroi remarked, "Heh, imagine a little vermin like you, having any strength left to oppose me. I won't even have the energy to move if he contacts me again because that was too close. He's trying to keep me within his grasp, so this is my last chance, but how do I do that?" Sasuke pondered. Gaara asked no one in particular. Uchiha Sasuke, this is all he can do? Sasuke. Lee pondered. Naruto screamed, "How can you call yourself Uchiha Sasuke? You're a disgrace to yourself. Aren't you embarrassed to have everyone see you as a big loser?" Sasuke glanced up at him before catching sight of Lee, who was standing beside the blonde. That's it. The Uchiha pondered. "Now I'll absorb all of his chakra." Yoroi exclaimed as he charged towards Sasuke, thinking, "Hey, you couldn't have picked a worse time to let your mind wander, it's this." Hayate thought, "I guess this is the end," but then Sasuke appeared beneath Yoroi and kicked the auto spy in the jaw, sending him flying. "That's mine." Lee pondered. "Nani?" Guy pondered. As he emerged behind Yoroi, Sasuke exclaimed, "It's over, after this, I'll limit myself to my own special skills, but for now." To Yoroi, "Oh, Kagabuyo," Sasuke exclaimed. "Eat this." Before the curse mark began to spread across the Uchiha's body, causing him to feel pain in his neck. "Crap. The same manner, each and every time. It hurts, but I won't just lie back and let it happen." Kakashi reflected. He's reached his limit. Devour me. The marks abruptly disappeared as Sasuke thought. The marks of curse are fading, Anko thought, startled. Before kicking Yoroi in the stomach, Sasuke said, "Let's go." However, the older ninja used his arm to block the kick. Yoroi remarked, "Stupid amateur." However, Sasuke abruptly turned around in midair. Before Sasuke struck Yoroi in the jaw with his left hand, sending the auto spy tumbling to the ground, Kakashi remarked, "Stupid amateur, indeed." The Uchiha then turned around once more before punching Yoroi hard in the stomach and turning around again. The Uchiha yelled, "And now, Shishirendan," as he kicked Yoroi hard in the stomach just as they hit the ground, knocking the auto spy unconscious before Hayate approached him to examine him. "I'm stopping this match before it goes any further," he thought, "because I can tell without even looking." To put it another way, Uchiha Sasuke is the winner of the first battle and moves on to the next round. Naruto exclaimed, "He did it!" before Sasuke collapsed to the ground and Kakashi emerged from behind him. He remarked, "Hey, well done." Then he thought, when he sparred with that Lee kid, he must have used his Sharingan to memorize those moves because it looked like the techniques he used before the Shishirendan were derived from Guy's fighting style. "Lee, I owe my life to the lessons I learned from you. But that trick really wiped me out. I guess it's not something I can use too often," Sasuke thought before he felt a sting of pain. "This one would have turned out really badly if I hadn't seen your moves up close when we went head-to head. I understand." He was able to learn and perfect the move I used on him in a single encounter. A true secret weapon. Sasuke is not to be taken lightly. As time passes, he will only grow stronger. Lee thought, "I feel a little afraid." A body that has been progressively trained and refined over an extended period of time is necessary for the Renge series moves. Even with the Sharingan, mastering the Renge is not something that can be done in a day. And that last move's expressiveness. Like teacher, like student. Kakashi? Are all of your children punks like you? Guy pondered. The top rookie from the previous year, Hyuga Neji, is expected to be Uchiha Sasuke this year. Who would prevail in a fight between them? Tenten pondered. He's quite a boy. Developing his Sharingan ability to its fullest potential at such a young age. "Beware the fearsome power of the blood of the Uchiha," is a common saying, which Kakashi thought was understandable. Fantastic. Anko thought, he suppressed it by sheer willpower, even though the power of that curse mark should have had complete control over him. Kankuro saw how Gaara was staring at Sasuke and thought, "Not this again." "If it happened any other way, it wouldn't be such fun," Zaku replied. "Ooh. Sasuke.kun. You're the best," Ino replied. That's all. We're finished. Shikamaru pondered. Wow, exclaimed Hinata. Kiba exclaimed, come on, it wasn't that great. Orochimaru thought, licking his lips, brilliant. He wasn't so tough, he said. Kuretsuchi thought, I don't understand why the Uchiha are so feared. Well, Kitsuchi thought, if that's the best Konoha's genin can do, they won't make it through these tests. As two others carried Yoroi away, one of Konoha's medical corps members remarked, Uchiha Sasuke, we must escort you, too, and put you under the care of the medical corps, so you can get the best possible treatment. Before bending down to Sasuke's ear, Kakashi remarked, you have no idea what you'd be getting yourselves into. I'll handle him. He can come with me right now, and I'll seal away the curse mark. Well then, right. Let's get the next match going, Hayate replied. Can't this wait? I want to watch everyone else compete, Sasuke replied. As everyone else waited for the next two names to be called, Kakashi said, no, don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. This thing is spreading like a disease, and it's already close to the point of no return. I let you have your own way once, and it's only made you greedy. Kakashi and Sasuke then began to leave. Fu versus Aburame Shino. Well, what did you know? Seems like I'll have to fight the Aburame again, Fu replied. It appears to be Fu's turn. As Fu sunshined in what seemed to be a whirlpool of bugs, Naruto wondered what kind of abilities she possessed. Sakura looked down at her crush and thought, Sasuke-kun. After Fu and Shino had descended from the upper gallery, Hayate exclaimed, all right, everyone. It's time for the second match of the prelims to begin. Hinata remarked, I hope Shino-kun is up to this. Don't worry, last time she was just lucky that he couldn't use his bugs, this time's different. And besides, out of all the people here, Shino's the only one I wouldn't want to go up against, Kiba replied. Hayate said, okay, you may begin. An Aburame clan member, huh? Suin wondered how long he would last against Fu. You do realize how futile it is for someone like yourself to go up against me, right? Fu replied. Yes, but I'll still fight you. Why? Because I'm curious about your abilities, Shino replied. Well, in that case, I won't be holding back, Fu said, and then, as she exclaimed, Takigakure. Ryu. Mizukiri no Yaiba. A sword of water materialized in her hand. She then charged at Shino, swinging the sword as she got to him, but he simply transformed into a swarm of bugs. Amushi Bunshin? Tower, Kakashi, Sasuke, and the Forest of Death. While Kakashi was writing seals that emanated from Sasuke's curse mark in 10 different directions, Sasuke was sitting shirtless on the ground. After finishing writing the seals, Kakashi stood behind the Uchiha and weaved a series of hand signals, saying, that's it, just a little longer and it'll be all done. When Kakashi slammed his hand down on the curse mark, all of the seals abruptly moved up the Uchiha's body and formed a tiny ring around it. Fuja Hoin, he exclaimed. Even if the curse mark awakens again, the power of this Fuja Hoin seal should contain it. Sasuke, the foundation of the seal's power is the strength of your own will. You have to want it to work, and you must believe in your own power to control it. If you don't, the curse could have its way again. Kakashi said before Sasuke went to sleep. You're so worn out, I barely recognize you. He turned slowly as someone behind him said, so, you've mastered the art of sealing, Kakashi-kun. Looks like you're all grown up. Kakashi uttered in front of Orochimaru. A lot of time has passed, Orochimaru remarked. Orochimaru, uttered Kakashi. Pardon my rudeness, Kakashi-kun, but, I have no use for you. I'm here about the boy behind you, Orochimaru replied. Kakashi questioned, what do you want with Sasuke? Kakashi realized what he was after. Orochimaru said, oh, you know how it is, two guys have something, and a third one's just got to get it, too. You haven't had it for very long yourself, you know. Know what it is yet? It's the Sharingan. I must possess Uchiha blood. What for? Inquired Kakashi. The newly created village of Otogakure, that is my home, you see, is it becoming clear? Orochimaru replied. Kakashi remarked, so it's just your greed and delusions of grandeur. I suppose you could say that. Good help is so hard to find these days, and I need all sorts of pawns at my disposal. Orochimaru replied. Kakashi questioned, "So, you think that Sasuke is one of your pawns?" Orochimaru remarked, "Oh, he's a very special pawn, a real keeper, unlike the boys who are going through the rigors of the exam process right now. Those boys are disposable." Kakashi then made a few hand gestures before placing his left hand on the underside of his elbow and holding his right arm down. The sound of 1,000 birds filled the room as Kakashi uttered, "Stay away from Sasuke. Even if you are one of those 3 ninja, the man I am today can take you down," as lightning flashed in his right hand. Orochimaru then burst out laughing, and Kakashi questioned, "What's so funny?" Orochimaru remarked, "You say one thing, and do another." "What?" inquired Kakashi. "The curse. Binding seal you placed upon Sasuke-kun was futile. When a heart is sufficiently focused and ruthless in its desires, then, for good or evil, the end will justify any means. Sasuke-kun possesses just such a heart, the heart of an avenger," Orochimaru replied. As Kakashi turned off the rakery, he said, "So that's how you got your hooks into him, but Sasuke's not," but Orochimaru interrupted him as he turned to leave. Before abruptly sending a wave of killing intent at the Jonin as he continued to walk away, he said, "A day will come when he will seek me out, hungry for power. Meanwhile, I believe you were offering to kill me. Care to try? Or are you all talk? Did I make a mistake? Am I some sort of idiot?" The snake emitted a great deal of killing intent, which Kakashi thought was overwhelming. Tower, arena, and forest of death Shino's bugs were now all around Fu, suggesting that she had failed to turn them against him. In actuality, Shino was unaware that controlling insects that already had a master was very challenging, even for the Nanabi Jinchuriki, and Fu wasn't quite at that level yet. Though he didn't express it, Shino was taken aback when Fu grinned before scattering into a swarm of insects. "You're completely surrounded. It would be wise to withdraw from the match." Everyone looked up to see Fu crouching on the ceiling, with 2 wings that looked like bugs growing out of her back and her eyes turning crimson red. "Hey. I've heard that those of the Aburame clan always fight with their all, and never hold back. If that's true, then this battle's already over." Unbelievably fast, Fu kicked off the ceiling and flew in Shino's direction. Before anyone could realize it, the Aburame was unconscious on the floor, Fu standing over him, her wings retracting and her eyes turning back to orange. Shibuki shouted, "Way to go, Fu-san. Man, it always scares me how fast she can move in that form," Takimaru replied. "It shouldn't come as a huge surprise why she can move so quickly. Suin thought, she can gain a significant amount of speed when using her wings, comparable to the speed of Konoha's foremost taijutsu expert." "The winner is Fu," declared Hayate. Shino-kun, Hinata uttered as the medical corps performed the Aburame. "Whoa, she has already mastered the chakra of her Biju?" Naruto pondered. "Yo!" exclaimed Kakashi as he emerged. "Kakashi Sensei!" exclaimed Naruto. "What do you mean, yo, Kakashi Sensei? Tell us about Sasuke-kun. Is he alright?" Sakura screamed. "Under the guard of an Anbu team. But asleep," Kakashi stated. "He's fine, sound asleep in the infirmary even as we speak." Just as Naruto saw that the next 2 names appeared on the scoreboard, Sakura sighed with relief. "Masumi Tsurugi versus Kankuro. Finally, it's my turn," Kankuro pondered before making his way down. Baki thought, "Kankuro isn't taking this seriously at all. Stupid." Gaara pondered. "Him again." As Naruto recognized the older boy, he thought. After the 2 competitors had gotten down, Hayate said, "All right, then, you may begin. Even though you're just a little brat, I'm not letting down my guard like Yoroi did. In fact, let me make one thing perfectly clear, you'd be better off forfeiting the match before you get hurt. This won't take long at all," Masumi responded. Kankuro put down the bandaged object he had been carrying on his back and said, "I agree, I'll be finished with you in no time." The fight ended quickly as Masumi encircled Kankuro and squeezed until the Nin's neck broke. However, it seemed to be nothing more than a puppet that had been momentarily transformed to resemble Kankuro. The real Kankuro was concealed in the bandages, and he forced the puppet to squeeze Masumi in his place. Due to Masumi's inability to fight back, the winner of the match is Kankuro, stated Hayate. 2 of them against 1 guy, isn't that against the rules? Isn't it, Kakashi Sensei? replied Naruto. Kakashi stated, not in this instance, Naruto. The other guy is just a golem of some sort. Kugetsu no Jutsu. He manipulates a lifeless doll by projecting the power of his chakra. The golem is a weapon, just like Shuriken, Sakura clarified. Hayate stated, in any event, it's time for the fourth match. Naruto exclaimed, this is like a never-ending freak show. Kuretsuchi, standing beside the blonde, deadpanned, look who's talking. While Sakura was laughing, Naruto questioned, hey, what's that supposed to mean? Sakura's eyes widened as Kakashi pointed up at the scoreboard and said, I don't think you'll be laughing in a minute, Sakura, look. Sakura Haruno versus Ino Yamanaka. Soon after, the two kunoichi appeared in the center of the room, facing one another. Before Sakura removed her Hite.8, Ino remarked, so, Sakura, it's you and me, going head.to. Head. I never saw it coming. WH. What the? Exclaimed Naruto. Yes, Ino, what are you going to do? Asuma pondered. Understand this, I'm never letting you anywhere near Sasuke.kun, Sakura replied. What? Shouted Ino. You're not even his type, and I'm not the weak, needy little girl I used to be. You're not even on my radar now, Sakura responded. Sakura, I think you've forgotten who you're talking to. Don't cop an attitude with me, you little crybaby, Ino replied. Ah, man. Sakura just crossed the line. That Ino chick scares me silly, said Naruto. Sakura's not trying to throw her weight around, and she's not the kind who'd bully someone just to be cruel. She's just making sure Ino is too riled up to think of going easy on her, for old time's sake, Kakashi responded. Naruto questioned, what are they getting so intense about? Kakashi sighed. Guy gave him a glare when Kakashi said, well, Naruto, rivalry is a tricky business, not that I would know. He simply couldn't see that he was the same way about Sasuke. I understand, Sakura. Let's settle this amicably. As she removed her Hite.8 and Sakura and she wrapped them around their foreheads, Ino pondered. It was a much longer fight than the last one. Throughout the match, Sakura and Ino appeared to be on an equal footing until Ino, apparently in a fit of rage, chopped off her hair with a kunai and threw it to the ground before channeling chakra through it to paralyze Sakura while she performed the Shintention. Sakura appeared to have lost the battle, but Naruto was able to make Ino release the technique and return to her own body by using Sakura's will, or more precisely, her inner Sakura. Now that they had reached their breaking points, Sakura and Ino rushed at one another with all of their remaining strength. Both of them were knocked back, but Sakura stood up after a few seconds. Hayate declared, the winner is Haruno Sakura. Sakura then walked back up, and Asuma shunshined down to pick up Ino. Asuma said, it's okay, and then shunshined up to where Choji and Shikamaru were standing. Shikamaru shouted, hey, Ino, as Asuma showed up and set the girl down. As Sakura approached his position, Naruto said, are you alright, Sakura-chan? According to Sakura, yeah, I'm fine. Kuretsuchi remarked, it was about time you finished that fight, tree hugger. Bakutsuchi pointed to the scoreboard and said, hey, Kuretsuchi-san, look. Her eyes followed his fingers and saw that the next two fighters were Kuretsuchi versus Tenten. Tenten and Kuretsuchi were soon standing in the center of the room, facing one another. The fifth match of the preliminaries, Kuretsuchi against Tenten. Please step forward, said Hayate. Hey, look, a candidate from Iwa, this should be fun, Neji replied. Lee shouted, yeah, go Tenten. Go, Hayate exclaimed, begin. Tenten leapt back, took a kunai from her pouch, and hurled it at Kuretsuchi, but the Iwa.nin sidestepped the jagged object and made a series of hand signals instead. Kaiten. Ryuka no Jutsu. Kuretsuchi's mouth opened to release the head of a fire dragon, which raced in Tenten's direction but was evaded by the weapon mistress. Lee shouted the words, Tenten, use the power of your youth. That's the spirit. Keep cheering her on, Guy replied. Bakutsuchi shouted, come on, Kuretsuchi-san, show her what you're made of. Then Tenten took two scrolls out of her pockets, placed them on the ground, and made a hand signal. So sure you, she exclaimed, and two smoke dragons soared into the air and circled one another before the smoke cleared and it became clear that the dragons were, in fact, the scrolls. Tenten then leapt into the air and struck the scroll seals to call forth weapons. She then hurled the weapons in Kuretsuchi's direction before more weapons materialized as she touched the seals once more. After finishing the hand sign sequence, Kuretsuchi yelled, "Earth Style! Earth Dome Jutsu!" She slammed her arms to the ground before a half-dome materialized over her, blocking all of the weapons. She swiftly drew a series of hand signals after the barrage ended and then leapt from her hiding spot. She exclaimed, "Yotan! Sekaigyo no Jutsu!" before spitting a quicklime bullet at Tenten's feet, which caused her to fall to the ground. The quicklime then solidified after Kuretsuchi spit a lot of water at it, saying, "Sweeten. Mazarapa, then." Tenten proclaimed, "I'm not done yet, not as long as I can still move my arms," as she produced multiple shuriken and kunai and hurled them at the Iwa.nin. To ensure that Tenten couldn't use her arms, Kuretsuchi sidestepped the weapons and then performed another Sekaigyo, followed by Mazarapa. Hayate declared, "Kuretsuchi is the winner since Tenten is unable to defend himself." "Impossible!" exclaimed Lee. "Okay, Kuro. Chan won. Datbeo," cried Naruto. Kuro. Chan?" As he peered down at his pupil out of the corner of his eye, Kakashi thought. Bakutsuchi shouted, "Yeah, way to go, Kuretsuchi-san." "I'm shocked. Normally, especially since her opponent was a Konoha tree hugger, Kuretsuchi would have defeated it. Odd, thought Kitsuchi. "Okay. My turn. I'm good to go. Who thinks he can take me?" said Naruto. "Who's next?" "I think it's me," shouted Lee. Bakutsuchi screamed, "No, are you guys stupid or something? I'm the one who's gonna be next." Shikamaru Nara vs Tsuchi-kin. Bakutsuchi exclaimed, "You've gotta be kidding me." "Aw, man," exclaimed Lee. "Rats," exclaimed Naruto. "Me, eh?" asked Shikamaru. As Kin began to move toward the stairs, Dosu remarked, "He manipulates shadows, be wary of them." "Hey, it'll take a lot more than a stupid technique like that to beat me," Kin replied. As they stood in the middle of the room, Shikamaru remarked, "This is such a drag. And how embarrassing, being expected to fight a girl." "If that's the way you feel, I'll put you out of your misery quickly," Kin replied. "Shikamaru, don't you dare lose," exclaimed Ino, who had recovered from the previous battle. "Well, Ino is suddenly very energetic," Choji pondered. "Even though we battled during the second exam and I learned about the Auto Ninja's strengths, I have no idea what this one's specialty is. She has, however, had a good chance to watch me in action." However, Shikamaru pondered. The battle began as Hayate uttered the words, "Begin, cough." Kin threw some senbon with bells on them, and the senbons went into the wall behind Shikamaru, ending the brief battle. In order to keep Kin from seeing him coming, Shikamaru followed his shadow beneath the threads that were fastened to the bells. Shikamaru threw a shuriken at Kin when she was trapped by the Kagemane, forcing her to do the same. They both leaned back and dodged the lethal throwing stars just before the shuriken could hit, but Kin was too close to the wall and her head struck it so forcefully that she was knocked out. A shinobi uses everything to his advantage, including the terrain, and the architecture as well. You were locked into the same movements as I, but only one of us was close enough to the wall to give herself a concussion. The shuriken were just a distraction, so you wouldn't notice where you were standing," Shikamaru continued. Hayate declared, "The winner is Nara Shikamaru." Ino shouted, "Nice one, Shikamaru, awesome," exclaimed Choji. "And the guy acts totally humble, man, that was cool," said Naruto. Neji thought, the rookies this year seem to be showing some promise, but... And then he glanced over his shoulder at Hinata. That man is clearly a tactician. Before turning to face the scoreboard, Takimaru reflected, not many people could come up with a strategy like that so quickly. Now, who's next? Shibuki vs Bakutsuchi. Bakutsuchi shouted, "Ha, it's my turn at last," and dashed down. As Shibuki began to descend, Fu remarked, "Good luck, Shibuki.kun. Show that Iwa.nin what you're made of." Shibuki said, "Don't worry, Fu.san. I'm intending to." A moment later, the two genin were standing in the center of the room, facing one another. Bakutsuchi declared, "This will be simple. You have no chance against me." According to Shibuki, That overconfidence of yours will be your downfall. Hayate commanded, begin battle. Bakutsuchi immediately produced a kunai with an explosive tag fastened to it and hurled it at Shibuki. Shibuki shouted, Mizu no Tatsumaki, as he swiftly swerved through the hand signals. A water vortex encircled him, shielding him from the kunai and the explosive tag, which detonated as soon as it touched the water. Chikigakure. Ryu. Mizukiri no Yaiba. Shibuki emerged with a water sword in his hand and swiftly dispatched Bakutsuchi as the water vortex fell to the ground. Shibuki is the winner, declared Hayate. Hey, I can't say I'm surprised. That guy was obviously the weakest of the Iwa. Nins. Fu replied. Ah. Bakutsuchi-san, exclaimed Akatsuchi. That idiot. He's so overconfident all the time, Kuretsuchi thought. Naruto said, all right, I know I'm gonna be next, before the next two names were mentioned. Zaku versus Tamari. Zaku asked, hey, who's that loser? Tamari said, finally my turn. A moment later, they were standing in the center of the room, facing one another. You better give up now if you know what's good for you, Blondie, Zaku replied. Tamari remarked, I could say the same to you. Hayate exclaimed, begin, and Zaku immediately pushed both of his arms forward. He sent a sound wave directly at Tamari, but the blonde was able to avoid it and then grabbed the big fan she was carrying on her back. Don't worry, I'll end this quickly. Zankuha, he exclaimed. The Auto.Nin skidded backwards as she waved the fan, which spread out a gust of wind in Zaku's direction. Then Zaku stopped and turned to face Tamari. Let's see you get away from this, Zankukyokuha, Zaku exclaimed, directing Tamari with waves that were faster than sound. Kamaitachi no Jutsu, Tamari exclaimed, directing a strong wind tornado towards the supersonic wave with a wave of her fan. A miniature hurricane was formed inside the room when the two waves of powerful winds collided. According to Kuretsuchi, that's some wind. Kamaitachi no Jutsu, Tamari exclaimed, boosting her wind with a wave of her fan. Zaku was ready to launch another round of supersonic waves as he saw Tamari gaining the upper hand. He exclaimed, Zankukyokuha, but, much to everyone's astonishment, his arms abruptly blew off, and Tamari's Kamaitachi struck him, launching him into the air before the winds dispersed and he hit the ground. Kurama no Kyubi. In Naruto canon, Zaku once claimed that using Zankukyokuha would put his arms at risk of blowing off when the Auto.Nins attacked Team 7 and the guys. Hayate declared, the winner is Tamari, as the blonde approached her teammates who were waiting. As some medics carried Zaku away, Dosu thought to himself, poor Zaku, he's a member of my team, but we didn't know each other well. Additionally, teammates watch out for each other. Making sure there is payback is my business. I, Hinata, Naruto, one of the Iwa. Nins, one of the Auto.Nins. Choji, Neji, one of the Taki. Nins, Lee, and that guy from Suna are the only ones who haven't competed yet. Please, just don't let it be the Suna guy. Before the next two names were mentioned, Kiba pondered. Naruto Uzumaki versus Kiba Inuzuka. Well, it's about time. Now I can finally show everyone how strong I really am, said Naruto. Kiba shouted, oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. We can take this guy, Akamaru. As Akamaru gave a bark of approval. If I'm not next, then it signifies that Sakura-san will hate me for having massive eyebrows. But if I'm next, Lee murmured to himself. Kuretsuchi said, well, good luck, Naruto-kun. Naruto said, thanks. And then he ran down. Looking at Kakashi, Kitsuchi said, Copy.nin, what have your student done to my daughter? Good thing he doesn't know who Naruto's parents were, Kakashi thought after hearing the statement, I wouldn't know. Hayate exclaimed, the 9th round battle. Uzumaki Naruto versus Inuzuka Kiba. After Naruto and Kiba had taken their places. Kiba shouted, Woo.Who. We lucked out, Akamaru. This fight is as good as won, and Akamaru responded with a bark. Hey, Kiba. Send your little puppy dog home. Come on, he'll get in our way. Naruto shouted, pointing at Akamaru, before saying, don't be so cocky, you jerk. Whatever, Kiba said, placing the mutt on the ground as it barked, Akamaru fights with me, like always. Sakura screamed, Naruto. Don't you dare let that loser beat you. This is it at last, Kakashi thought. Naruto? Kakashi, you had a hard time. Your boy can never defeat Kiba. Kurenai pondered. I wish I could support Naruto-kun, but I don't want to upset my teammate Kiba-kun. However, Hinata pondered. Don't worry, I'll be kind. I'll finish you off fast instead of dragging it out, Kiba replied. Naruto exclaimed, oh, yeah, well, right back at ya. Akamaru barked as Kiba remarked, you're not fooling anyone with that cool act. Well then, begin, responded Hayate. Ninpo. Shikyaku no Jutsu. Kiba uttered those words before becoming somewhat more savage as he tackled all four. Here I come. He then elbowed Naruto in the stomach after charging at him more quickly than the other genin in the room could see. But when he inhaled smoke, nearly everyone's eyes widened. Nani? Kiba pondered. Kiba turned around and saw Naruto standing behind him, holding his hands in the Hitsuji hand sign. Over here, Kiba, he exclaimed. Naruto yelled, Futon. Kamikaze no Jutsu, and hurled a gust of wind in Kiba's and Akamaru's direction. The leftovers from Shibuki's Mizu no Tatsumaki and Kuretsuchi's Mizurapa were also blown into the air by the winds. As he performed another series of hand signals, Naruto hoped that Kiba and Akamaru would both avoid the wind wave. Suiten. Suiryuden no Jutsu. The water particles in the air suddenly came together to form a dragon of water, which then moved in Kiba's direction and slammed the Inuzuka against the wall. Naruto exclaimed, don't underestimate me, Kiba. Go. Naruto, exclaimed Sakura. Lee exclaimed, yeah. Oh, Naruto-kun. Hinata pondered. Hey. Show them that you're stronger than they all seem to believe, Naruto-kun. Show them all, thought Kuretsuchi. Hiruzen thought, ho ho, what an interesting development. Kiba stood up and said, I guess you've gotten stronger, eh? So this time, I'm not holding back. Naruto exclaimed, oh, yeah? Then, right back at ya. Hinata began, oh, n Naruto-kun th, but Sakura interrupted her. She exclaimed, that was awesome, Naruto. However, I thought this Naruto kid was a complete jerk, Kurenai pondered. Then, as Kiba produced a smoke bomb and tossed it to the ground in front of Naruto, a plume of smoke formed, shrouding the blonde as he and Akamaru charged at Naruto. However, Kiba was unaware that Naruto had activated his eyes and created a cage bunshin. The blonde then fled from the smoke when he saw that Akamaru had leapt at him. Fortunately, he already knew this because he and the clone had the same vision, and he punched the mud so forcefully that he flew into the wall. Nani? Was he aware of Akamaru's presence already? As the clone puffed away and the smoke cloud dispersed, Kiba thought, no, that's impossible. Kiba was standing exactly where Shibuki had performed his Mizu no Tatsumaki earlier, and Naruto had purposefully left some water there, but Kiba was unaware of this. When Naruto yelled, Hayaten! Sensatsu Suisho! The water surrounding Kiba abruptly changed into a number of ice needles. He couldn't finish because the needles were shooting at him. What the? Even though Kiba leapt into the air, he was still struck by some of the needles. Kiba said, ouch, I'll get you for that, Naruto, as he touched down. As Akamaru ran to his master, Naruto questioned, oh? How? When Kiba exclaimed, let's do it, Akamaru. Jujin Bunshin. Akamaru abruptly transformed into a Kiba clone. After that, the two of them charged at Naruto, who was able to easily avoid all of their blows, but Kiba finally decided it was time to call it quits. He yelled, Gatsuga, as he and Akamaru began spinning so quickly that they appeared to be a pair of drills and headed directly for Naruto. To make sure there were no escape routes, they first went straight through the blonde before spreading out everywhere. Nevertheless, Naruto was nowhere to be found when Kiba and Akamaru finally halted their flurry of attacks. As he and Akamaru looked around, Kiba exclaimed, what the? Hey, where'd he go? Just then, two hands sprang out of the ground, seized Akamaru's legs, and pulled him into the floor until only his head was visible. In front of him, Naruto emerged from the floor at the same moment. Startled, Kiba exclaimed, what the? You were in the floor. Prior to weaving a series of hand signals, Naruto explained, hey, Doden. Moguragakure no Jutsu. And now that the dog's taken care of, you're the only one left. How could he tell which of them was Akamaru and which was Kiba? Kurenai pondered. With his Rinnegan, he must have been able to distinguish between them, Kakashi thought. Futon. Fujin no Jutsu, was Naruto's cry before he spit out a stream of dust. Filled, high velocity wind towards Kiba, who just about avoided it. 3 Naruto clones then emerged from the winds and kicked the Inuzuka into the air. Zu, Ma, then the original and a 4th clone appeared, and the original used that clone as a launching pad to get over Kiba. The blonde kicked the Inuzuka back to the ground as soon as he climbed above him, saying, Naruto Renden. And the winner is Uzumaki Naruto, declared Hayate following Kiba's examination. Yeah, shouted Lee. Sakura exclaimed, oh, yeah, that feels good. Shikamaru cried out, incredible, Naruto beat Kiba. Yes. Hinata pondered. Naruto ascended the stairs and remarked, hey. That was easier than I thought it'd be. According to Akatsuchi, whoa. Naruto won. Kuretsuchi said, hey. What did you expect? Fu reflected, and he didn't even use any of his Biju's chakra. As the medics carried Kiba and Akamaru away, Hinata descended the stairs and approached them. Th. This is a healing salve, for Kiba-kun, and Akamaru, Hinata described while extending an ointment. Nice of you to worry about everyone else, but save some of that concern for yourself. There are only 8 of you left, you, Choji, Neji, Lee, one of the Auto Ninja, one of the Iwa Ninja, one of the Taki Ninja, and that guy from Suna. Listen, Hinata. If they pair you off against that Suna ninja, withdraw immediately. And not just him. The same goes for Neji. If you have to face him, don't fight. Forfeit. He's so cruel to you, you'd be torn to pieces, Kiba responded. Hayate said, well then, the next match will be, cough. Hinata's eyes widened as the next 2 names appeared on the scoreboard. Hinata Hyuga versus Neji Hyuga. Kurenai thought, Hinata. After Hiruzen remarked, these contests get more and more intriguing, Hinata and Neji appeared in the center of the room, facing one another. I never dreamed we'd find ourselves fighting each other, Hinata. Sama, Neji replied. Hinata stammered, Neji, Oni-san. Kuretsuchi questioned, wait, she's his sister? Both are members of Konoha's oldest and most illustrious family, through whose veins flows the most elite and accomplished blood, the Hyuga clan. But they're not brother and sister, Kakashi clarified. Sakura inquired, then, how are they related? Well, it's complicated, I guess you could say they're related in the same way, that a tree branch is related to the trunk. Kakashi responded. Naruto said, branch and trunk. Hi, Hinata is a member of the main branch of the Hyuga clan, and Neji is a member of the cadet branch that supports it. Lee clarified. So it's family fighting family? That'll be hard on both of them, Sakura responded. Yes, except. Lee uttered, except, inquired Kuretsuchi. There's been strain between the central and cadet branches of Clan Hyuga for some time. Relations aren't exactly friendly, Lee stated. Why's that? Inquired Akatsuchi. I don't know all the details, but it sounds like a pretty common tale among older families. The first generation of the Hyuga clan made all sorts of rules and decrees that favored the main branch of the family, in order to preserve the family line and retain the purity of their blood. It's said that members of the cadet branch still burn with anger and humiliation. Lee clarified. So it's one of those fateful showdown things, then, said Sakura. Hayate said, well, please begin the match, cough. Before we begin, there's something I have to point out to Hinata, Sama. Neji said, grabbing the blue net's interest. You're not cut out to be a shinobi. Withdraw from the match. You're all sweetness and light, a peacemaker, not a troublemaker. You're easily led, not a leader. And you have no self-confidence. You've got a world-class inferiority complex, so I know you'd have been more comfortable and content staying at the Genin level. But applicants for the Chunin exams must compete as a trio, and you couldn't bear to let your teammates down. The truth is, your participation has been reluctant from the start, hasn't it? N.No, you're wrong. I really wanted to change that about myself. So, of my own volition, replied Hinata. Hinata. Sama, you're the sheltered little baby of the main branch, aren't you? Neji responded. What? Inquired Hinata. A leopard doesn't change its spots. A failure always fails, and a weak personality won't become strong, Neji concluded. That jerk. Naruto pondered. It's precisely because of the unchanging nature of humankind that differences between people are born. It's why we've coined terms like elite and failure. It doesn't matter who you are. We're all judged on the basis of our looks, our intelligence, our talent, or our personalities, just as we judge others in their turn. Yes, it's a form of discrimination, and the factors that it's based on don't change. We have no choice, we must live within the boundaries set for us by the judgments of others. It's as unchangeable as the fact that I'm of the cadet branch of the family, and you're a member of the main branch. I've seen through many things with this Byakugan, and so I know, this courage you're displaying is just a bluff. In the truest, deepest part of your heart, you're desperate to run away from here right now. Neji continued. Hinata said, No, I really want to. Sakura glanced at Kakashi and said, the Byakugan. The Byakugan far. That he mentioned is one of the Kekkei Genkai passed down in the Hyuga family. A dojutsu in some ways similar to the Sharingan, but in its penetrating perceptive ability, the Byakugan surpasses the Sharingan completely. Kitsuchi clarified in Kakashi's place. When Neji's eyes became active, Hinata tried to look away by turning her gaze to the upper left and then to the lower right while holding her hands in front of her. My eyes can't be deceived. Just now, to escape my stare, you averted your own eyes, glancing towards the upper left. It signaled your recall of a past experience, one that brought you pain. When you subsequently glanced to the lower right, it indicated that you were envisioning physical and mental agony. In other words, you recalled your own previous experiences, and based upon those memories, you imagined the outcome of this match. You foresaw your own defeat. Even now, as you bring your arms up in front of your body as if to shield yourself, your body is signaling your desire to raise a wall between us, to create some distance from me. You implore me to come no further, to peer no more deeply into the innermost secrets of your heart, because everything I have said so far has been right on target. In addition, the way you're touching your lip, it's another of those tender, intimate behaviors that expresses the agitation in your heart. It's a defensive reflex, an attempt to ease your own anxieties and doubts. It's completely clear, whether you admit it or not, that you are aware that you can never change yourself, Neji said. When Neji said, you can't just arbitrarily decide these things about other people, you fool. Show him, Hinata. Beat up this baka. Naruto screamed. Yes, she can. Hinata mused. Naruto.kun. Come on, Hinata. At least talk back to him. Just hearing him has made me mad, and it's you who has to fight him. Naruto screamed. Hinata thought, Naruto.kun. He's really annoying. Neji pondered. With renewed confidence, Hinata gazed at Neji and thought, thank you. The expression in her eyes has changed. Neji pondered for a moment before responding, so you're not going to withdraw, then I won't be responsible for what happens here. I no longer want to run. After activating her eyes and assuming the Juken stance, Hinata thought, Byakugan. She then said, Neji. Oni.san, let's fight. That's... Lee pondered. Neji said, okay then, and took the same position. They have the same Hyuga style, after all, even her stance is identical to Neji's. Lee continued. Sakura inquired, Hyuga style? The strongest taijutsu school in Konoha? I've said it before, I'm positive that the strongest genin is a member of my own team. I was talking about Hyuga Neji, Lee exclaimed. After that, Hinata and Neji charged at one another. Hinata launched a series of palm strikes, but Neji stopped them all. This is it. When Hinata noticed a gap, she thought and swiftly struck Neji in the stomach with her palm. Did she get him? Inquired Akatsuchi. According to Kuretsuchi, no, it's just a scratch. But a scratch is all it would take. That's why the Hyuga clan is often regarded as Konoha's most illustrious family. Lee continued. Sakura questioned, huh? What do you mean? Among the Hyuga, there are unique taijutsu passed down from one generation to the next. Unlike the taijutsu that Lee and I specialize in, which is all about beatings, bruises and broken bones, a style its proponents call Goken. The Hyuga clan employs Juken, to inflict damage to the enemy's Kirakuki, through which the chakra flows. That leads to the breakdown of the internal organs. destroying the foe from within. It doesn't look like much, but the effect grows gradually after the initial attack. Guy clarified. There's no way of strengthening the internal organs, so any enemy struck with that blow is going to succumb, said Kitsuchi. As she deflected a blow from Neji away from her and then struck him with another palm strike, Hinata thought, yes, even I can. Kurenai thought, Hinata. Yeah, Hinata, exclaimed Naruto. What kind of people are they, to attack the Kirakuki? It doesn't seem possible. I mean, the Kirakuki is just energy lines inside the body, so how do you attack something you can't see? Sakura inquired. They can. Those two, their Byakugan can see them. And Juken attacks are different from the purely brute force, physical kind. You take your own chakra and release it through the energy portals in your hands, forcing it into the body of your foe, where it can inflict massive damage on the enemy's Kirakuki. Kakashi stated when Hinata struck Neji's torso. All right, shouted Naruto. Neji had stabbed Hinata's arm with his other hand's index and middle fingers while striking her in the chest, causing Hinata to cough up blood. So this is the full extent of the main branch's strength? Neji responded. Naruto screamed, hey, what the heck? What about Hinata's attack? Before attempting a palm strike to Neji's face, Hinata thought, not yet. However, the Hyuga prodigy grabbed Hinata's wrist with his left hand and struck Hinata's arm with his right index and middle finger. What a fighter! Kakashi pondered. Kurenai wanted to say, tell me. My. Hiruzen thought, it seems those who have referred to him as the greatest genius in Hyuga clan history haven't exaggerated the case. Neji then exposed multiple black dots by pushing Hinata's sleeve up her arm. It can't be, you mean, from the very beginning, replied Hinata. Before launching a palm strike that sent Hinata reeling across the floor, Neji exclaimed, precisely, my eyes can detect the tenketsu. Hinata. Sama, this is the unalterable difference in strength, the distinction that separates the elite from the failure. This is the unchangeable reality. From the moment you said you wouldn't run, your defeat was inevitable. The only possible outcome was your present despair, withdraw. Never, go back, on my word, Hinata uttered as she stood up. Hinata, Naruto pondered. Hinata exclaimed, because, that's, my Nindo, too. Naruto exclaimed, whoa, Hinata, man, she's got guts. She is very similar to you, Kuretsuchi remarked. Yeah, I've noticed that she's always watching you, Naruto, said Sakura. Then Neji said, come here, but Hinata coughed up more blood. That child is truly at her breaking point. One more assault and she'll, Kurenai pondered. Neji's strikes on her tenketsu have completely arrested her flow of chakra. She's lost the capacity to perform the Juken attacks that flood her chakra into her opponent's body. This fight is as good as done, Kakashi stated. It appears to be inevitable. Neji is going to win, Guy thought. Those eyes, so creepy, Hinata, she won't get killed, will she? Ino responded. His level of strength, it's not a fair fight. He's just too strong, said Sakura. Naruto shouted, hang in there, Hinata. Naruto.kun. Hinata considered this before turning to face Neji. As Hinata rushed in his direction, Neji thought, the look of strength is back in her eyes. I've been watching, Hinata thought as she and Neji started fighting again. I've been watching you for years. Why is that? I'm not sure what it is, but whenever I watch Naruto.kun, I feel a surge of bravery rising within me. I believe that even I am valuable if I just give it my all. That's how I feel at first. Then, Hinata advanced for a palm strike, but Neji deflected her attack with a chopping motion with his left hand before striking her in the face and sending her reeling back a few feet. Hinata, Kurenai uttered before reflecting, you always quit, but you started trying to change at some point. You were always making mistakes on missions, despite your constant and desperate training. You stumbled. You lacked strength. You also never believed in yourself. That is no longer the case, though, because the Hinata I see now has an expression in her eyes that is unlike anything I have ever seen. Before Hinata charged at Neji once more, Kurenai pondered. Naruto.kun. I've been observing you for a very long time, but now you're finally observing me. As she ran towards Neji, she thought, but before she could hit him, Neji hit her, causing her to fall to the ground. Don't you know when to quit? From the start, your attacks have been completely ineffective, Neji replied. Please, call this off, Hinata. Even though you lost the match, you were able to change who you are. You performed admirably, Kurenai pondered. That was Neji's master stroke. It targets the heart. It's a pity, but the girl can no longer even stand, Guy replied. Hayate began, seeing as the match cannot go on, but Naruto interrupted. He cried, don't stop it, Sakura screamed. What are you talking about, you baka? She's got nothing left, she's already collapsed. But Hinata was able to get to her feet in an instant. Why are you getting up? If you push too far, you really will die, Neji replied. The reason for this is that the person I've long admired is finally observing me, and I can't stand to appear uncool in front of him. As Hinata glanced at Neji, she thought, this isn't over yet. You're not fooling anyone. I can see with these eyes, it's taking all your strength just to stand. You were burdened from birth with the Hyuga clan's main branch. You've hated and punished yourself for your own weakness and frailty, but you can't fight your nature or change your fate. But you need not suffer anymore. Be at peace, Neji replied. Before Neji charged at her, Hinata remarked, but, you're wrong, Neji. Oni-san, I can see it now, that even more than me, it's you who are torn and suffering, caught between the destinies of the main branch and cadet branch of our clan. After shouting, Neji, the match is already over, Hayate, Kakashi, Guy, and Kurenai intervened to halt the Hyuga prodigy. Enough, Neji, before this began, you swore you wouldn't drag the issues you have with your family's main branch into this, Guy replied. Before Hinata passed out and started coughing up blood, Neji questioned, well, why is it that the other Jonin are getting involved? Special protection for the main branch, eh? Kurenai ran to her and exclaimed, Hinata, before Naruto, Lee, and Sakura descended. Naruto said, Hinata, hey, are you all right? Sakura exclaimed, she doesn't look good. Her face is so pale, before Naruto gave Neji a fierce look. Hey, you, Mr. Failure, Neji said to the blonde. A couple of words of advice. A true shinobi would have too much class to make a spectacle of himself by cheering during a serious match. And one more thing, you may as well accept who you are. Once a failure, always a failure. Naruto stood up and charged at Neji, asking, you want to try me? But Lee suddenly appeared in front of him. I understand almost painfully well what you're feeling, Naruto-kun. But, we have to limit our battles to the confines of the scheduled fights. The prospect of seeing a failure defeat a genius through sheer force of will, it really makes you look forward to the final rounds, even though his opponent could very well be me. But even if it's you in the finals, Naruto-kun, I'll have no regrets, he exclaimed. After Naruto said, yeah, I get it, okay. Lee gave Guy the thumbs up, and Guy gave it back. Lee, you're such a great child, good, Guy pondered as Naruto knelt down and ran his fingers over Hinata's blood before getting to his feet as some medical personnel arrived and removed her. I give you my word, he thought as he held his fist in his right arm and exclaimed, I vow to win. Naruto-kun, Lee pondered. Naruto, Sakura pondered. Naruto-kun, Kuretsuchi remembered. Then Kankuro thought, this isn't good. Gaara's smelled blood, and now that thing is waking up, starting to fidget, the demon that lives within him. That kid so doesn't know his place, it's funny, he has no idea how outranked he is. However, you would think that Neji hadn't even been hurt and that he still possesses untapped strength. We need to start making plans in order to get ready for the final rounds. Perhaps I should get some information. Naruto seems like a good place to start. When Naruto reached the top of the stairs, he turned around to see Kankuro, and a voice said, hey, you're a funny guy, I like that. Well, you're not funny at all, and I don't like that, said Naruto. The first time I get an excuse, you are so dead, you miserable little, Kankuro pondered. What hack do you want? Inquired Naruto. Kankuro remarked, well, you see, it's about that Hyuga Neji guy, but I will acquire that individual. Naruto uttered those words. Kankuro responded, fine, but that's not what I asked. All right, so let's get started on the next fight. Before the next two names were mentioned, Hayate said. The Takimaru vs Kinuta Dosu. Dude, I'm facing him. Takimaru uttered those words before descending. Rest assured, Takimaru.kun. You'll succeed, I'm sure, after her teammate, Fu called. According to Takimaru, yeah. Hey. As he walked past the Taki. Nins, Dosu remarked, I wouldn't be too sure about that. As soon as they were facing one another in the center of the room, Hayate uttered the words, begin. Kurama no Kyubi. Not knowing who he'd be up against, he came up with plans of how to beat everyone he knew the abilities of. Man, I can't believe they put me up against that Auto.nin. Oh, well. I've already constructed a plan to beat him, Takimaru thought. I suggest you just surrender to save yourself the embarrassment of losing, Dosu replied. As Takimaru's eyes began to glow red and a mist filled the lower half of the room, he said, sorry, but I never step back from a fight. A mist? Dosu thought. Too bad for him that a mist consists of water particles, and sound travels through water. He then just punched the air and heard someone scream before deciding it was too easy. He then went to the location of the scream and, as he got closer, he noticed a silhouette in the mist. However, as Dosu got to the silhouette, it disappeared into thin air. Nani? As the mist cleared and the Ikagen bearer's eyes returned to normal, Takimaru materialized behind him, a kunai held to his throat. I apologize, but contrary to what you may have assumed, the mist I produce isn't composed of water. Takimaru remarked, it's just a powerful genjutsu that only my clan members can use. So, you made that haze and thought I might fall for it? Dosu inquired. Before placing his right hand on Dosu's back, Takimaru said, precisely. Now, let's give you a taste of your own medicine. Dosu's eyes widened as he felt as though his own technique had been used on him before he passed out. Kurama no Kyubi. For all we know, there could be many abilities of the Ikagen that we've never seen before, so I figured that one ability it could have was to absorb an enemy's attack and then send it right back at said enemy, or any of the enemy's allies at twice the power. It doesn't work well against stronger opponents, though. Takimaru is the winner, Hayate uttered those words. Good luck, Takimaru.san. As Takimaru turned back to the stairs, Shibuki shouted. Kakashi thought, what a powerful genjutsu. It's unbelievable that he's still a genin. All right. Cough. Let's get the next fight started, Hayate said. I suppose it's your turn at last. Lee, go. Guy uttered those words. Not at all. Guy, Neji, Kakashi, Sakura, Kitsuchi, Kuretsuchi, and Akatsuchi were all taken aback when Lee said, I've waited this long. If it were up to me, I'd rather be the last act. Sakura thought, it almost looks like Lee.san is sulking. Hey, Choji, you're in trouble now. What will you do? Only the strongest survive. I'm concerned about the expression in that Suna kid's eyes in particular. The most dangerous kind is him. Shikamaru uttered those words. So it won't matter, I'll just leave right away, Choji uttered those words. Well, you'll be giving up your chance for an all.you.can.eat victory barbecue once the exam is over, said Asuma. Hey, don't use food as bait, Shikamaru uttered those words. The words, but, sounded to Choji. Don't be concerned. I'll intervene and break up the fight if things get out of hand. All right? Asuma reassured. Choji, did you hear that? Go ahead and do it. You'll have Asuma Sensei watching out for you, Ino uttered those words. Shikamaru pondered, I hope Choji will be all right. When Hinata got into trouble, he was the only teacher from Konoha who didn't jump in to stop it. Come on. Imagine the barbecue. Yes, indeed. I can eat all the meat, Choji shouted. Shikamaru thought, unless you get eaten first, you poor sap. With a sudden shun, Gaara said, don't keep me waiting. I'm safe. As the next two names came up on the scoreboard, Choji shouted. Gaara versus Lee Rock. So it's Lee.san, but what's that big gourd of Gaara's for? Sakura thought. I feel bad about this. All right. You got me. I was stopped as soon as I expressed my desire to be last. You can repeatedly throw a stone at a telephone pole and never hit it, but the minute you aim to miss, you hit it squarely in the middle. This is a natural law. In any case, I wasn't particularly interested in being the last act, Lee shouted. So, Kuretsuchi thought, then, who got caught? Hey Lee. Guy remarked, I've noticed something important that most people might have overlooked. Yes, sir. Lee uttered those words. That gourd thing of his is quite suspicious, Guy replied. Lee said, I see, and began writing on a sheet of paper. Cease making notes. In the heat of combat, you won't have time to consult them. Guy uttered those words. Lee put the piece of paper away and remarked, I see. I hope Lee.san will be all right, Sakura thought. He's finished for. Kuretsuchi pondered. All right, Lee, go get him, Guy shouted. Yes, sir. As he leapt to the ground and landed in front of Gaara, Lee exclaimed, I'm so glad to be facing you so soon. I don't know what kind of tricks this bold.cut kid has up his sleeve, but there's no way he'll win against Gaara, Kankuro stated. Naruto remarked, no, he's stronger than you think. Gaara's gourd's cork abruptly exploded and was on its way to Lee, but the taijutsu practitioner merely grabbed it and said, please, don't rush things. Be careful, Lee, Guy thought. All right, then. Now let's start the 12th round fight. Before Lee rushed toward Gaara, Hayate made an announcement. As he moved in for a roundhouse kick, Lee yelled, Konoha Senpo. However, he struck a shield of sand, saying, sand, and the sand suddenly collided with Lee, sending him rolling across the floor. Sand? He's working with sand? Sakura wondered. What an odd method, Kakashi thought. Naruto thought, the gourd is full of sand. Fu pondered. So that's the Ichibi Jinchuriki's ability, huh? Darn. Lee thought as he skidded to a stop and charged at Gaara once more. He tried a punch but the sand shield stopped it, and then he tried a kick but it was also stopped. Without even moving a muscle, darn. As quick as he is, Lee.san is not making any progress. Sakura uttered those words. His attacks are simply ineffective. Naruto uttered those words. Physical assaults against Gaara are useless. Regardless of Gaara's wishes, the sand creates a shield to keep his body safe. Kankuro said, that's why, to this day, not one person, who has ever wounded him. Naruto swallowed as Lee attempted to strike Gaara once more but was thwarted by the sand shield. Why does Lee.san exclusively practice taijutsu? Taijutsu are painful and useless against that sand wall. He must start attacking from a distance and employ ninjutsu. Sakura uttered those words. It's not that Lee won't use ninjutsu, it's that he can't, Guy replied. What? Sakura asked herself, startled. Lee has practically no ninjutsu or genjutsu abilities, Guy stated. Are you serious? How, then, has he survived this long? Sakura shouted. Lee had no talent or ability at all when I first met him, and he had no sense at all. Because of this, he has only been able to learn taijutsu moves. Few ninja are proficient in both ninjutsu and genjutsu, Guy remarked. Yeah. Kitsuchi remarked, he's the first I've ever heard of. In an attempt to grab Lee, Gaara's sand suddenly began to shoot up from the floor, but the taijutsu practitioner leapt back, then up and landed on the tip of the right hand's finger on the enormous statue that was just across the wall. And that's exactly why Lee can prevail, Guy said before giving Lee a thumbs up and yelling, Lee, remove them. But Guy, Sensei, you mentioned. I would never do that unless I was protecting the lives of those I care about, Lee shouted. Everything is fine. I'll let it, after Guy screamed. Lee took off the weights that were fastened to his legs. Weights? Kuretsuchi inquired. Oh, Guy. The most nostalgically traditional, sickeningly sweet kind of training, Kakashi thought. All right. I can now move around freely. As he let go of the weights, Lee shouted. How stupid, thought Kankuro. I understand, Naruto uttered those words. When Tamari and almost everyone else's eyes widened when the weights smashed into the floor with a bang and massive dust clouds appeared, they thought, there's no way dropping a few weights will let you keep up with Gaara's sand. Guy, aren't you going overboard? Kakashi pondered. Leave. Lee. Guy shouted. Yes, sir. Lee shouted before abruptly disappearing and resurfacing behind Gaara. He then tried to punch Gaara, but Gaara's sand blocked it just in time. Nearly, Sakura thought. He's quick, Kakashi reflected. Lee then attempted a kick to Gaara, which nearly went through. He then tried a punch and another, each one coming faster than the last. Lee dedicated himself entirely to taijutsu because he lacked skill in either ninjutsu or genjutsu. All of his time, all of his energy, all of his concentration. As Lee approached Gaara from behind, Guy remarked, so that even if he lacked any other kind of abilities at all, he'd still be unbeatable as a taijutsu specialist. The majority of the audience was shocked when Lee leapt into the air above Gaara and then kicked the Ichibi Jinchuriki in the head with his heel. Lee is unbeatable in terms of speed. I believe I gave you all fair notice that this boy is incredibly strong. Guy uttered those words. All right, let's get started. As he skidded back, Lee uttered those words. Temari thought, it's unbelievable, he actually managed to wound Gaara. Bushy brows are now even quicker. Before thinking, he really is strong, Naruto said. No way, Kankuro exclaimed, shocked. Lee, explode now, Guy shouted. Yes, sir. Lee shouted before disappearing and then resurfacing behind Gaara. However, as Gaara glanced over his shoulder, Lee disappeared once more and then resurfaced in front of the Suna.nin, saying, over here, before punching Gaara away. Wow. He moves so quickly. He was too fast for the barrier of sand. There was absolutely no protection, Sakura cried out. I'm exhausting him, Lee reflected. Wow. His movements are so quick that I can't even follow them. Choji uttered those words. Kankuro uttered the words, this is bad. You're right. That jerk with the raccoon eyes. He shouldn't be standing at all after the way he was just hit. Naruto uttered those words. Kankuro remarked, that's not the problem. The Ichibi. Fu thought, I feel the Ichibi's presence beginning to surface. Everyone could see that Gaara's skin was beginning to fall off as he stood up once more. What? Lee remarked in surprise when he realized that a layer of sand armor rather than skin was falling off, and Gaara appeared to have an insane expression on his face. Kakashi thought, he mummified himself in sand, the blows barely touched him. Sakura gulped and wondered, What is he, a sand armor? When did he wrap that around himself? Naruto inquired. He was wearing the sand like a shell, it's been a while since I saw that expression on his face. Normally he's as composed as a statue, the epitome of decorum and politeness. I had sensed that, during the Chunin examination, he was becoming more and more unstable, but, the other Gaara, is now totally awake, Kankuro thought for a moment before stating, if this Gaara is able to catch Lee, Lee will be toyed with and then killed. Gaara's body was suddenly covered in sand to restore the sand armor that Lee had destroyed. That Lee is truly something, Kankuro thought, but the end of this is a foregone conclusion, because Gaara is a genius. If Gaara has been driven to using the armor, then his mind is right now, purely on defense. He's been driven into a corner. Is that all? Gaara inquired. It's a fantastic defense, he's protected, so my speed isn't important. My only option is to keep beating and punishing that outer layer of sand, Lee thought. What is he doing now? Temari wondered. Lee.san, Sakura pondered. The Renge, Lee thought, then glanced up at Guy, who nodded in agreement before Lee began removing the bandages from his arms. Before Lee started running around Gaara faster than anyone could see, Guy reasoned, the Renge will let him strike his foe at high speed. A thin layer of sand won't stand up to it. And if it happens that he's wearing a thick shell of sand, it will be almost impossible for him to kick outward, in which case. Come on, move quickly. Gaara uttered those words as his patience began to waver. As you desire, Lee said before he kicked Gaara into the air, but thanks to the sand armor, he was barely lifted off the ground, and that's not all. Lee then began to kick Gaara in a flurry, sending the Suna.nin higher and higher as his sand attempted to reach them. Lee then stood up behind Gaara, but before he could do so, he closed his eyes and felt a slight sting of pain, which Gaara noticed. Guy thought, you had better make your next move decisive, kid, as he clasped his hands together and closed his eyes to pray. Even a simple Renge move puts a lot of strain on the user's body, that many consecutive kicks may be too much even for Lee. You got it, Lee said as the bandages had finished wrapping themselves around Gaara before they started spiraling down to the floor. Omid Renge. In order to avoid being killed by the impact, Lee leapt away as they hit the floor. D.Do, you believe he's deceased? Naruto inquired. You're kidding, aren't you? Kankuro uttered those words. He won. Lee.san, Sakura cried out. Gosh, Guy uttered those words. However, Gaara's sand armor came off when Lee landed, revealing that it was empty. When did he finally come out of his shell? He couldn't have gotten past Lee at all, Guy shouted. Guy, it happened while you were praying with your eyes closed. After a brief moment of Lee's agony, Gaara approached Lee from behind and burst out laughing. That's when, Kakashi said. As Naruto activated his all-powerful eyes, he thought, there's something not quite right about that Gaara. I wonder. Rinnegan. His eyes widened then, and he exclaimed, what in the world? Kurama no Kyuubi. I don't really like that thing with all of the Biju having the same color for their chakra, so in each of my stories they'll have a different color from each other. Kankuro thought, it's finally awakened, Gaara's inner demon. As Gaara waved his hand and a wave of sand shot toward Lee, flung him against the wall, then shot again, crashing into the wall. When the dust cloud from the sand hitting the wall dissipated and Lee was seen extending his arms in front of him for protection, Kankuro thought, Mr. Bull.Cut is at the end of his rope. Gaara's just toying with him. Why doesn't Lee simply run away? Sakura inquired. The Renge technique he just used, it's a double-edged sword, Guy replied. It's essentially a prohibited move. The body is severely strained when practicing taijutsu at that level of speed. That child is nothing but a mass of pain and weakness right now, Kitsuchi remarked. Sakura remarked, but that means, as Gaara's sand struck Lee, sending him skidding away. At this rate, Sand's gonna. Guy remembered the first time he saw Lee and thought, Lee. Rewind at the moment. Lee was running around outside the academy with the other students in his class. You baka, ha 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 ha. You're never going to be a ninja, one of the children remarked. Yes. How is it possible for someone who is incapable of using ninjutsu to aspire to become a ninja? One more person said. But I will. Lee shot back. You can only do taijutsu, and even then, you're only mediocre at it. Why did they allow you to enter the ninja academy? As Lee attempted to ignore him, a different child said, Hey. Want to know what the other kids call you? No. Before he fled and the other children began to laugh, Lee said, covering his ears with his hands. Hey Lee. Wait in line. As Guy peered down from a window at the scene, the teacher shouted after him. That's the Gaki about whom everyone is chatting. The little hothead who couldn't. He uttered those words. The end of the flashback. It was Gaara who then sent Lee another sand wave. Guy recalled the moment when Lee, Neji, and Tenten became genin. But Lee, you took your mediocre skills in taijutsu, and made exercise and practice your obsession, and then, Guy thought. Rewind. Now that you're a genin, I'd like to know all about your objectives. Standing in front of the three genin, Guy uttered those words. Neji said, I don't want to say. All right, Guy said. I aspire to be a powerful kunoichi like the renowned Tsunade. Sama, who is my idol. Tenten uttered those words. Sensei. Lee shouted, raising his hand, I want to demonstrate that anyone can become a fantastic ninja even if they are incapable of using genjutsu or ninjutsu. That's all I want. Guy thought, he's got good eyes, but Neji laughed and Lee got to his feet, accusing the Hyuga. Hey, why is it so funny? He shouted. The end of the flashback. Lee tried to move aside as another wave of sand hit him, remembering the outcome of one of his fights with Neji. Rewind. Lee fell to the ground after losing to the Hyuga prodigy once more. Oh, Lee.San. You know when to give up, don't you? Here, you have no chance. Not against Neji. Tenten remarked, you're not a genius, and he is. Give up, Lee. No matter how hard you try, you can't hope to beat me. That's just the way it is, Neji replied. The end of the flashback. Then Guy remembered that he had once witnessed the child training. Rewind. Guy was spying on Lee as he performed push-ups at one of the training fields. Alright, so if I'm not strong enough after 500 push-ups in a row, I'll do 1.200 double skips with the jump rope. As it turned out, a short while later, Lee was performing double skips with the jump rope. And if 1.200 double skips don't do it, then I'll kick the wooden practice dummy 2.000 times. Whoa. 1.116, 1.117, Guy pondered, but Lee stumbled on the rope and fell headlong into the wooden practice dummy, sobbing as he hit the ground. Guy stepped out from behind the tree he had been hiding behind and said, "So, Lee, taking a break already?" Lee stood up. Before kicking the wooden dummy, Lee said, "Did you need something, Guy Sensei? If it's about the blunder I made during our last mission, I thought I'd already made it up to you. You know, you really are very different from Neji. You're no genius at ninjutsu or genjutsu, and you really aren't a taijutsu virtuoso, either. Nevertheless, Lee, there's one area where you completely surpass Neji. You're a genius of another kind with great hidden potential," Guy replied. Lee said, "You're just saying that to be nice," while kicking. As Lee stopped kicking, Guy remarked, "I'm not trying to be nice. I'm just saying that you are a genius of hard work." "Do you really mean that? I have only been able to make it this far by having faith that, if I trained 2 or 3 times as hard as Neji, I might finally beat him. I've always believed that. But, lately, I've started to feel that I had no hope of ever measuring up to a true genius like Neji. I've wondered if it was possible for hard work alone to be rewarded, so I've kept challenging Neji, but the results have always been the same. I'm no match for him, and even now, on missions, my legs still tremble in fear that no matter how hard I work, I'll never get stronger. It scares me so much I can't stand it. I don't know what to do," Lee replied. "All your hard work will prove worthless unless you believe in yourself," Guy stated. The end of the flashback. "Thank you, Guy Sensei," Lee thought, recalling it himself, before recalling another exchange with his sensei. Rewind. I want to demonstrate that even someone who is incapable of using ninjutsu or genjutsu can become a magnificent ninja. You remind me of myself, way back when I was a complete failure. Nowadays, in matches against that elite genius, Kakashi, we're nearly even. That's your shinobi path, isn't it? It's a great goal, one that's really worth fighting for. It's the path you chose, so have faith and follow it. Become such a strong fighter that I can just sit back and enjoy the show. You got that, Lee?" Guy replied as he stroked the child's forehead. "Yes, sir," shouted Lee. The end of the flashback. Another wave of sand approached Lee, and Guy gazed down on the battle. Sakura screamed, "Lee-san, no, give up before he kills you." But Lee ducked, much to the surprise of nearly everyone. He regained his speed. Naruto pondered. The fact that Guy Sensei is relaxing and taking in the performance is enough to get me going again, and to strengthen me more than before. As he smiled and assumed his taijutsu stance, Lee thought. Lee San's being pushed around so brutally, why is he smiling? Sakura inquired. Guy said, drawing the pinkette's attention, the lotus of Konoha will bloom twice. He's about to start pushing back. Gaara remarked, for you, it ends here. Well, one way or another, the next move will be the last, Lee replied. Konoha's lotus will bloom twice? As his visible eye widened, Kakashi thought. Guy, don't tell me you. Guy responded, on the contrary. I did. Then, that kid, who's just a genin, is able to open the Hachiman, Kakashi responded. Guy replied, yes, that's right. It's terrible, Kakashi reflected. Guy remarked, he has the talent. No matter how much talent he has, you taught him something horribly dangerous. The Ura Renge tops the list of moves you shouldn't teach, Kakashi screamed. Ura Renge. Neji pondered. It's none of my business what that child means to you, and I'll spare us both the lecture about not being governed by your feelings, but you crossed a line on this. You disappoint me, Guy, Kakashi responded. Guy recalled what Lee had said when he first turned into a genin and remarked, you don't know the first thing about that kid. I want to prove that even a person who can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu can still become a splendid ninja. It's my only goal. As Lee began to hold his arms in an X shape in front of his face, Guy remarked, that boy has something he values so deeply that he's willing to die for the sake of it. That's why I wanted to help him become someone who'd be able to stand up for his ideals. I had to. So tell me, Guy, which of the Hachiman has he gotten up to so far? Kakashi asked after reflecting, so he was able to back from exhaustion with such abnormal speed because he'd forced open the Kumon. Both Kakashi's and Kitsuchi's eyes widened as Guy said, the Toman. Since hard work alone shouldn't be able to accomplish that feat, Kakashi reasoned that the boy must be a genius. Does Konoha have a young enough person to open the Toman? Kitsuchi pondered. Kuretsuchi questioned. What are you talking about? You keep mentioning these, Hachiman? The Hachiman act as limiters that must be released in preparation for performing the Ura Renge, Guy clarified. As Kakashi revealed his Sharingan by lifting his Hite.8, Sakura questioned, limiters, released? Yes, he replied. At 8 specific points along the Kirakuki there are places where the chakra nodes converge. The Kaimon, the Kumon, the Simon, the Shoman, the Toman, the Kimon, the Kiyomon and the Shimon. Those are called the Hachiman. They constantly maintain limits on the amount of chakra flowing through the body. Limits that the Renge uses chakra to forcibly override, enabling the user to draw upon strength that is dozens of times his usual level, even if the user's body is destroyed in the process. Incidentally, the Omet Renge opens only the Kaimon. Guy clarified. Akatsuchi questioned, and, the Ura Renge? Opening the Kaimon frees the user from his own mental inhibitions. The opening of the Kumon boosts his strength, and with the opening of the Simon, one can begin the Ura Renge, Guy stated. But, the Omet Renge alone got him so beat up, if he tries to perform any more moves, Sakura replied. That's right, this technique is a double-edged sword. The state where all the Hachiman have been opened is called the Hachiman Tonko no Jin, and anyone who achieves that state will, however briefly, be granted strength that surpasses even Akage's. But in exchange, that person will inevitably die, Kitsuchi continued. As he considered the 3 individuals he wished to battle the most, Neji, Sasuke, and Naruto, Lee thought, I will not be the only one who fails. Please, Guy. Sensei, take notice of me. Now, of all times, when I eventually achieve my shinobi path. Simon, Kai. He exclaimed as his skin suddenly turned red and tiny rocks began to float around him. Hey. His skin turned a different shade. Kuretsuchi pondered. He's going to make his move. He opened the Simon, Kakashi pondered. While I'm at it, let me say this. Shoman, Kai. As a tiny trail of blood emerged from Lee's nose and all of his muscles tensed, he thought. Just before Lee disappeared, Kakashi thought, he's quite something. Then, without anyone noticing, he kicked Gaara into the air and said, he's fast. Kankuro shouted, Gaara? Since he was unable to locate his younger brother. Naruto looked up and exclaimed, you're looking in the wrong place. Kankuro's eyes widened as he followed his gaze. Look up, shouted Shikamaru. But what about Lee? I don't see him anywhere, Choji replied. It appears that the sand is simply unable to keep up, Kuretsuchi pondered. The Suna.Nin flew towards the wall when Lee abruptly materialized in front of Gaara and punched him. However, the Konoha.Nin then materialized behind him and punched him once more. For several minutes, both ninjas endured excruciating pain in this manner. What? Is my sand armor coming off? As he noticed that his sand encasing began to fall off, Gaara reflected. Again, the sand armor? As Lee braced himself for another blow, he thought, at this rate. If this continues, his muscles have been torn, Kakashi thought. However, it's just Lee. How did he become so? As he turned on the Byakugan, Neji pondered. Lee shouted, this is the end, Toman, Kai, is he even human? My defenses are failing, Gaara pondered. Hi, Neji. I was preparing this move to use against you, but I'll give you a preview first. Lee considered this before he struck Gaara in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. However, Lee was able to prevent the Jinchuriki from hitting the ground by wrapping some of the bandages on his left arm around Gaara's waist. Much of the sand armor has been ripped away, and the sand shield is unable to keep up. This is not good, Tamari pondered. The Ura Renge is a fast-paced set of taijutsu moves that renders the attacker untouchable. Lee's quick moves are crucial to his victory because the sand can't possibly catch up, Guy pondered. This is the conclusion. Before removing the bandages and drawing Gaara closer to him, Lee pondered. Then, shouting, Ura Renge. Lee pushed his right hand and right foot into Gaara's stomach. The Suna.Nin then leapt to the ground and collided with it so violently that a massive shockwave nearly knocked everyone off their feet. As Kakashi, Guy, and Kitsuchi saw that the gourd on Gaara's back had turned to sand just prior to the impact, Shikamaru thought, it's so fast, you can't even see. Don't tell me, Guy pondered. It's turning to sand, the gourd, Kakashi pondered. Was sand used to make the gourd? Kitsuchi pondered. Lee noticed that Gaara was lying on a sand pillow with his right arm outstretched toward him as he began to stand up. He used the gourd, which was made of sand, to defend himself. Guy pondered as sand began to abruptly climb Lee's left leg and arm. As he clenched his fist and the sand on Lee's limbs collapsed, crushing the Konoha. Nin's bones, Gaara exclaimed. Sabaku Q. The Konoha.Nin then fell to the ground and another wave of sand rushed at him, but to Gaara's surprise, Guy appeared out of nowhere and the sand scattered. Gaara asked, "Why are you helping him?" After experiencing a sharp pain on the right side of his forehead and putting his hand there. Guy then considered a number of Lee's remarks. Heh, I'm all right, 'cause I'm so strong. Guy. Sensei, I'll excel in the Chunin exams, you can sit back and enjoy the show. I want to prove that even a person who can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu can still become a splendid ninja, it's my only goal. Guy thought for a moment, then said, he's my lovable, precious protege. As the sand flowed up to his back to reform the gourd, Bucky thought, those words are beyond Gaara's scope of understanding. Then, Gaara turned and left. Forget it, he claimed. To everyone's surprise, Hayate declared, the victor is Gaara. Before Lee got back to his feet and assumed his taijutsu stance, his hair casting shadows over his eyes. It's unbelievable, Guy thought. His arms and legs were crushed when he opened the tomen. How is he still standing? As Guy approached the child and placed his hands on Lee's shoulders, Kakashi pondered. As Guy began to cry, he thought, Lee, it's all right, it's over. You're in no shape to be standing. Lee's eyes were completely pale, indicating that he was unconscious. Even though you've been knocked senseless, you're still trying to stay true to your nindo. Lee, you are already a splendid ninja, Guy said, but then noticed that Lee was crying. Lee.San. As she scaled the fence and got ready to jump down, Sakura thought. Catching the pinkette's attention, Kakashi exclaimed, Sakura, how do you intend to help him? Your presence will only cause him pain. Tamari remarked, he never had a chance against Gaara, before Naruto leapt to his feet and began running in the direction of Lee, who Guy had placed on the ground. How could such a jerk defeat Bushi? Browse. As he sprinted past Gaara, the blonde Rinnegan bearer pondered. Naruto, Kakashi pondered. Hayate shouted, emergency unit, please hurry, as the medic, Nins arrived. Before noticing something and approaching Guy, one of the medics exclaimed, Excuse us, are you the Jonin responsible for him? If I may have a word. Though he's breathing on his own, he has compound compressive fractures and torn muscles throughout his body. If that were the full extent of his injuries, we could still expect a full recovery, but the damage to his attacked left arm and leg is especially severe. I don't want to say this, but the doctor whispered so that only Guy could hear that. This kid's body is so destroyed, he'll never recover enough to be a shinobi again. At this point, Guy's eyes widened. Guy pondered, Lee, please forgive me for not stopping you before it was too late. I never let myself think that you could lose. I wanted to help you achieve your nindo. Lee, Neji thought, even in the end, you didn't realize that if your victory were a Pyrrhic one, the heavens would never permit you to go any farther. Welcome back, Gaara, the blonde girl said as Gaara sunshined up to where Baki and Tamari were standing. Guy, Kakashi said, glancing down at his opponent before reflecting, had I been in your shoes, I probably wouldn't have been able to stop Lee either, but I was pretty cocky earlier, to be honest. Shoji Akamichi versus the Akatsuchi. As Naruto and Guy returned to the group, Hayate exclaimed, well, it's the finale, the 13th round battle. Both contestants, please step forward. Soon after, the two surviving competitors were positioned in the center of the room, facing one another. Well, let's start the 13th round fight, Hayate exclaimed. Go get him, shouted Shikamaru. Ino exclaimed, you can do it, Fatso. Shut your mouth and keep your eyes open, I'm gonna end this match fast so I can come beat you up, Shoji screamed. Kuretsuchi shouted, good luck, Akatsuchi. We're rooting for you. Akatsuchi said, thanks, and then turned to face Choji. Choji exclaimed, Baika no Jutsu, Nikuden Sensha, as he grew larger before his head, arms, and legs entered his body and he began to roll in the direction of Akatsuchi, who made a series of hand signals. With a slam of his arms against the ground, Akatsuchi exclaimed, "Doden! Doryuheki no Jutsu!" And a wall of earth appeared. When he saw that cracks were starting to appear, Akatsuchi hurried to get out of the way before Choji could smash through the wall after he collided with it. Then, just before colliding with the wall, Choji was able to turn and roll in the direction of Akatsuchi, who slammed his arms together. Doden! Goremu! Akatsuchi's mouth suddenly opened, releasing a stone golem that punched Choji so forcefully that, despite his rapid rolling, he was knocked unconscious and sent flying into the wall. Hayate declared, "The winner is Akatsuchi." Kuretsuchi shouted, "Way to go, Akatsuchi." Choji was crouching next to a medic. Nin who said, "Hey, are you alright?" Choji said, "I want to eat meat." "Well, he lost, but I guess I'll still take him out for barbecue," Asuma replied. Hayate thought, "Phew, cough, cough, it's finally over." "The finals at last," Hiruzen thought. Hayate declared, well then, as of this moment, the preliminaries to the third exam are now complete." Soon after, all of the advanced genin, with the exception of Sasuke, were positioned in front of Hiruzen and the exam proctors. To those of you who won your bouts and qualified for the finals of the third phase of the Chunin exams, although one of you isn't here, cough, congratulations, said Hayate. "Well then, starting now, I shall be explaining the finals." Hiruzen pondered. "There are 5 Konoha, 3 Suna Ninja, 2 Iwa, and 3 Taki. This includes the absent Uchiha Sasuke." "Alright, at last," Naruto pondered, "the Konoha." Kabuto was kneeling in front of Orochimaru, who was leaning against a column somewhere in the village. "The preliminaries have safely concluded, they will now proceed to the finals," Kabuto stated. "How tranquil, or rather, how naively peaceful this nation has become, while all the other countries are busy with military expansion races," Orochimaru exclaimed. Kabuto got to his feet and said, "So if we strike now?" "Well, yes, although I doubt it would be any fun to kill that feeble old geezer," Orochimaru replied. "Are you so sure of yourself? To me, it still seems like you're faltering. Soon, the powers of each hidden village will collide and enter a fierce, lengthy conflict. Otogakure will be one of those involved, and you're planning to be the trigger of that, and to that end, that boy, he's a bullet, right?" "Uchiha Sasuke. Was it?" replied Kabuto. Orochimaru remarked, "Hey, your insights are disgustingly accurate." "Well, obviously not, because I didn't know about Dosu, Zaku and Kin. When I was assigned to gather intelligence on Sasuke. I wanted to understand the power of those 3 Auto Ninja. I made a foolish tactical error. I even provoked them into attacking me, and overestimated my own defenses. It seems, you still don't put your full trust in me, isn't that right?" Kabuto replied. "Those 3 are so inconsequential, is it really necessary for me to tell of such trivialities? You're my right handman, that itself is evidence of my trust. That's why, I was thinking of entrusting Sasuke. To you. The curse mark one put on him, it seems it's been sealed by that pesky Kakashi, not that it's of much consequence. But before the darkness in his soul is extinguished, I want you to kidnap him right away," Orochimaru replied. Kabuto exclaimed, "How unlike you, you're worried." Orochimaru remarked, "There is something causing a bit of concern." "You mean, the one with the Rinnegan, Uzumaki Naruto. Kabuto inquired. "Kurama no Kyuubi," he told Kabuto, "of course." "Hey, a very sharp kid, in fact." Orochimaru. Sasuke. Is an embodiment of vengeance. His sole reason for living is the desire to kill his older brother. Until he achieves that goal, he cannot die, and yet, when we fought each other, even though he knew he couldn't prevail against me, he came at me without any fear of death. And I hadn't thought he was a child who would rush so eagerly to his demise. According to your notes, it seems that his contact with Naruto. Is changing Sasuke. Kun's purpose and his soul. Since Naruto. Possesses so much influence over Sasuke. I must separate them immediately, as soon as I can. I've got to stain him with my colors, Orochimaru responded. Kabuto said, "Well then," before turning around and beginning to move. Kabuto. You, Orochimaru said, drawing the Auto Spy's attention. "If you want to stop me, your only chance is to kill Sasuke. Now. There's no way you could kill me, eh? Even if you're strong, you're no stronger than Kakashi," So, as the snake Sanin said this, Kabuto became anxious and began to perspire. Hey, I'm joking, now, you may go. I'm putting my trust in you. Kabuto then gave a small smirk before shining away as Orochimaru thought, hey, that face. I wonder what he's thinking. Tower, Arena, and Forest of Death. As I mentioned earlier, you will conduct your final round matches in front of everyone. Each of you represents the battle strengths of your respective lands, so we want you to exhibit and fully showcase your various talents. And thus the finals will commence 1 month from now, said Hiruzen. Naruto questioned, we're not doing it right here, right now? Hiruzen stated, we refer to this as the requisite preparation period. Fu questioned, what do you mean? Well, it's a period of time that allows us to relay the results of the preliminaries to the rulers and shinobi leaders of each land, and to summon them to the finals, and it also serves as a preparation period for you applicants. Hiruzen continued. Kuretsuchi said, I still don't get it, what do you mean? You must prepare to understand your enemy and understand yourself. During this period, you can analyze the intelligence you have gathered on your foes during the preliminaries, and use it to increase your chances of victory. Even though, up to this point, all the battles have been real battles, you were conducted on the premise that you were fighting an unknown enemy, Hiruzen stated. Yes, indeed. Shikamaru looked at Gaara out of the corner of his eye and thought, I never dreamed that this guy would use sand as a weapon. However, the finals are a different story. Some of you probably ended up exposing everything you've got in front of your rivals, and some of you may have gone up against comparatively strong opponents and found yourselves badly injured. In order to make the finals fair and just, we give you this month. Each of you must embrace the opportunity to practice hard, learn some new tricks, and of course get some rest, as well, Hiruzen stated. Hospital in Konoha. Kabuto sighed and walked over to the bed where Sasuke lay, where 3 dead Anbu agents were lying on the floor. He said, we stood out too much. I wonder if catching Orochimaru Sama's eye will mean ruin for both of us. An excessive brilliance can be a disadvantage. Then he thought, he's so young. How could he have this demon dwelling in his heart? It will be useful to his end when he eventually transforms this child into Orochimaru and Konoha. Orochimaru thought, Kabuto, maybe you will actually kill Sasuke-kun after all. Hospital in Konoha. After drawing a scalpel, Kabuto moved it closer to Sasuke's neck before abruptly hurling it at something or someone behind him. He said, only you, Kakashi, would think to stop my attack from my blind spot. After Kakashi had grasped the scalpel. You're no ordinary genin, are you? You made your attack immediately upon noticing my presence. You're pretty impressive, Kakashi responded. In response, Kabuto said, no, I'm not so great. What do you want with Sasuke? Depending on the circumstances, I'll have to arrest and interrogate you, Kakashi responded. Kabuto turned to the masked Jonin and said, I wonder if you can, someone like you. Before asking, what are you? Kakashi questioned, you want to test, someone like me? All the Anbu soldiers I had gathered were massacred by him, and he did it so effortlessly. You're the son of a Konoha medic, right? A perpetual failure of a ninja. Your name is Kabuto, yes? The masked Jonin asked after giving it some thought. Next time, you should probably ready at least 10 guards, Kabuto replied. Kakashi said, just shut up and answer my questions. Kabuto questioned, and what if I refuse? Kabuto grinned when Kakashi said, I'm the one asking the questions here. Show some respect. Are you in league with Orochimaru? If you arrest me here, right now, you might never be able to prove my connection to Orochimaru. No matter what kind of torture genjutsu you inflict upon me, I won't spill a single secret, and besides, I don't really like confrontations. It'll all come out eventually, so, why don't you just let it go for now? Kabuto replied. As he produced a kunai, Kakashi remarked, you're just a selfish little brat, aren't you? You shouldn't mock your superiors. Kabuto produced a knife and said, you won't just release me, then? You know the laws of this village, how spies are dealt with, Kakashi responded. Kabuto remarked, you're acting awfully smug, considering that the circumstances are in my favor, before he put the knife to Sasuke's neck. Then Kabuto thrust the knife down, but Kakashi sprang into action and came up beside him before he hit the Nin's knife out of his hand. He then grabbed the spy's right leg and kicked him in the back, causing him to fall to the ground. Then one of the dead Anbu jumped up out of nowhere and rushed to the door. Oh, aha. Before the Anbu saw a second Kakashi standing on the other side of the door, Kakashi pondered. The Anbu exclaimed, a Kage Bunshin, before pausing and turning to face Kakashi. Then, a second Anbu arose out of nowhere, hurled multiple kunais at the window, and leapt through it. Kakashi rushed to the window and peered down to see the Anbu take off his mask, revealing himself to be Kabuto. As the Kage Bunshin puffed out of existence, Kakashi thought, darn it, he got away, before turning around to see the dead Anbu fall back down to the floor. Amazing. He then walked over to the body of Kabuto and knelt down to see scar-like marks on his neck. Just as I thought, Shakan no Jutsu, used to temporarily restore a cadaver's heartbeat and manipulate the corpse, he surgically altered the face to make it resemble his. I'm in awe of him because he was so meticulous in his deception that he even eliminated the smell of the dead body and stopped his own heartbeat while posing as one of the Anbu agents he had murdered in order to make his getaway. If such a talented person is working under Orochimaru, then, at this rate, I'll be obsolete soon, too. His affinity for playing with corpses is a clear indication of his adoptive father, the chief of the medical corps. His moves would make even the Undertaker squad look foolish. Tower, arena, and forest of death. So, those are the basics. I would like to let all go now, but first, there's one last thing we must do for the finals. Hiruzen replied. Naruto shouted, hey, come on, I need to start training now. Now then, don't be so impatient, there are slips of paper inside the box Anko is holding, each of you, take one. Hiruzen replied. Anko said, I'll come around, so line up, okay. They're already lined up, Anko, Kurama no Kyubi. After she had approached Sakura, he placed his hand inside the box and Anko said, one per person. Anko then proceeded to Naruto, followed by Kuretsuchi, Akatsuchi, Tamari, Kankuro, Gaara, Fu, Shibuki, Takimaru, Shikamaru, and finally Neji. As Ibiki got ready to write their names on a tiny scoreboard he was holding, Hiruzen said, all right. Does everybody have one now? Then, starting at the left, each of you read out the number written on your slip. Sakura declared, I've got 5. According to Naruto, I got 1. According to Kuretsuchi, I got 3. As Akatsuchi put it, I have 7. Tamari said, 10. Kankuro said, 8. Gaara said, 12. Fu said, 4. Shibuki said, 6. Takimaru said, 13. Shikamaru said, 9. Neji said, 2. Ibiki stated, so Uchiha will be number 11. Good. And now I will reveal the match order for the tournament. Style finals, Hiruzen replied. Kuretsuchi asked, so that's what the drawing was for? Hiruzen said, well, Ibiki, show them the pairings. Ibiki said, yes sir, before he showed the scoreboard to the genin. Naruto vs Neji was the first match, followed by Kuretsuchi vs Fu, Sakura vs Shibuki, Akatsuchi vs Kankuro, Shikamaru vs Tamari, and finally Sasuke vs Gaara, with Takimaru facing the victor. Takimaru thought, dude, I have to fight the Sand Freak or Uchiha. What? It's a straightforward tournament for the finals, Tamari pondered. Damn it. My goal was to battle Naruto.kun or Sasuke. Kuretsuchi thought, but instead, I'm up against a Jinchuriki. Kurama no Kyubi. If she discovered that Naruto was a Jinchuriki, I wonder what she would say. Will I have to battle a girl? Once more? Shikamaru pondered. With total confidence that Naruto would prevail, Fu thought, looks like my second match will be against Naruto.Q. Thank goodness, I'm in a different bracket than Gaara, Kankuro thought. The guy with the puppet? Akatsuchi pondered. Uchiha. Sasuke, Gaara pondered. Sakura thought, Sasuke.kun, against that guy. Perfect, Neji thought, assuming the fight would be simple. Not thinking Sakura would be much of a challenge, Shibuki thought. My second match is against either the Doden user or the puppet user. Hyuga Neji, right away. I couldn't have asked for a better foe, Naruto pondered. Takimaru held up his hand as Hiruzen said, now then, it's time for you to go plan your strategies. Rest up, or whatever you please. We're all finished here, unless any of you have questions? May I? He inquired. Sure, exclaimed Hiruzen. You said this is a tournament, so, there's only one winner, right? Then, does that mean only one person gets to become a Chunin? Replied Takimaru. No. That's not the case. For the finals, you will be observed by many judges, not only me, but the Kazekage and the rulers and shinobi leaders of countries that will be requesting missions, as well. Based on your performance in the tournament, those judges will assign you an absolute value, and all those who are deemed to have sufficient ability to be a Chunin, even those who may have lost in the first round, can become Chunin. Hiruzen clarified. Do you mean, it's possible that all of us here could become Chunin? Replied Tamari. Hi. However, it is also possible that none of you will become Chunin. The advantage of fighting in more rounds in the tournament is in having a greater number of opportunities to display your talents for the judges. Does that answer your question, Takimaru? Hiruzen responded. Takimaru thought, he didn't have to throw it back in my face, man. Well then, good work. All, you are dismissed until 1 month from now, Hiruzen replied. Either Kuro Chan or Fu will be my opponent in the second round. Before turning to face Fu, Naruto thought, she's got more control of her Biju than I have of mine. I'd better ask Kakashi Sensei for help. He then turned to Sakura and asked, did you see where he went, Sakura Chan? After noticing that Kakashi was no longer in the upper gallery. Sakura said, no, I didn't even know he'd left. Naruto turned to face Kuretsuchi. You wouldn't happen to know where he went, would you? He inquired. Before turning to face her father, Kuretsuchi asked, sorry, San, did you see where the masked Cyclops went? Kitsuchi answered, no, but I'd bet he's probably with the Uchiha. Before rushing away, Naruto said, thanks, Gigi. Kitsuchi asked, Gigi? While Kuretsuchi laughed at her father's bad luck. Hospital in Konoha. Naruto stood in front of a hospital desk and said, hey, where's Sasuke's hospital room? Behind the desk, a medic announced, visiting hours are over. But, why? Inquired Naruto. Another medical professional said, sorry, hospital policy. As he emerged from a hallway, Kakashi exclaimed, Naruto, you're in a hospital, be quiet. Naruto turned around. Naruto addressed his sensei, saying, oh, Kakashi Sensei. Hey, I need a favor. Stop right there, I already know what you're about to ask, so, I've found someone to oversee your training. Kakashi responded. Huh? Is it Zabuza? Sensei, but I want you to train me, Kakashi Sensei, said Naruto. No, it's not Zabuza. And I've got other things going on, I couldn't give you my full attention. Besides, the one I've found is even stronger than I am. Kakashi replied. Wondering who could be more powerful than the masked Jonin, Naruto exclaimed, stronger than you are, Kakashi Sensei? Kakashi grinned and said, that's right. Naruto questioned, who is it? Naruto turned around and saw a man with long white hair who looked to be in his early 50s. So, you're the one with that power. Kakashi remarked, it's been a while, Jiraiya Sama.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.